Hi, this is Adrienne Barbeau, and you're listening to Movie Dumpster.
Hey, what's up? Welcome to Movie Dumpster Season 5, Episode 19. Today we're talking about Creepshow from 1982, directed by George Romero. I'm Joe Lascola.
I'm Sean O'Rourke.
And I'm Chris Bahr.
Welcome to the dumpster. So here we are, guys. We're finally talking about Creepshow on its 40th anniversary.
How is this 40 years?
I don't fucking know. No idea.
Yeah.
Scary thought, man.
It totally blew me away. And like, I was going, because I was like going through something else. And then I was like, oh, Creepshow. And then I was like, oh my God, it turns 40 this year. I was like, we got to do it. We got to cover it.
There's a lot turning 40 this year. This is not one that I thought would be in the list. Like The Thing, I see that as like a 40-year-old movie.
Yeah.
But not this one.
No.
True, yeah, I can see that.
I feel like this one's even more evergreen than The Thing.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, it's more like a timeless kind of movie.
Well,
I mean, it's heavily 80s, but like, because
50s
of this, because
also.
well, yeah, because of the subject matter and like what it's parodying and like what it's trying to be. I feel like you can stick it in, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can go into a lot of like decades.
Yeah.
Like there's 50s, there's 70s, there's 80s.
Yeah.
A little bit of futuristic in one of them.
Kind of, or like you know, that 50s or 60s futuristic aesthetic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like the little bit of like the drop of 2001 Space Odyssey that's in there.
It's got everything.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything.
But I mean, if you're not familiar with the show, Chris Bahr, our good friend, our co-host from our other show, Talks from the Dark Side, which, yes, folks, it's finally coming back. I know we had an unscheduled hiatus due to shit in every one of our lives from varying degrees over the last, like, fucking, what was it, 9 months or whatever.
It's been a long time.
It
feels like it's been forever since we did
It's been 40 years.
It's been 40 years since we did Talks from the Dark Side.
So we did Creepshow instead, of course,
well,
obviously.
Right. Well, on the in honor of Creepshow, we're actually recording Tales from the Dark Side or Talks from the Dark Side episodes in the same clip. Yeah. So yeah, Chris is finally here on a mainline episode.
This is the first one.
It's the first one.
What an episode to be on for this.
You had to be on this one.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Like, we wanted you on for Predator 2. Didn't work out that way, but if we were doing Creepshow, it had to be Chris Bahr
so
on this episode.
I'm glad to be here. This is a good one to be
on. I just want to talk a little bit about what this movie kind of means in the pantheon of our lives.
Yeah.
And kind of like how we met each other and because this film, for all intents and purposes, is a seminal work for not only us, if you agree with me, us as filmmakers, but us as friends and kind of our friendship.
Oh yeah, no, this is an important movie.
Yeah,
for a lot of people, but especially us creatively, it's done a lot for us. And like we're saying before, it kind of like goes through the decades of like inspiration and influence. Mm-hmm. It's like this has everything.
It has everything. We're big horror. You don't say, Joe. Yeah, we're big horror fanatics, and of course, fans of Tales from the Crypt comics and the EC comics and Vault of Horror and all that stuff. And this was, clearly George Romero and Stephen King's love letter to those comics. But just like from our perspective, they have infiltrated our lives so much that like one of our the first short that we ever did together was from 2010. Which is a fucking decade ago.
Outhouse,
by the way.
Yeah, 2010.
Yeah, talk about a long time ago.
12 years now.
Yeah,
you're like washing over. You're like the water washing over Ted Danson.
So we did Outhouse, which is an award-winning film, by the way. We can say that we're award-winning filmmakers.
We're both not gonna like toot our own horns.
No, but we were on television.
Yeah.
An award-winning film that's printed on a shit-colored VHS tape. You can't forget that.
It's in the dungeon. It's right there. Yeah. We did a short run of red tapes, and then we did a short run of yellow tapes, and hopefully new tapes to come. Wink, wink. Looking at you, Josh. Lunch meat VHS. Anyway, but yeah, specifically for Outhouse, we kind of had it. I feel like since like the inception, like that we did that for the monster mashup competition, the contest that the what was it, it was Chiller Network.
Yep.
It was the Chiller Network that was on for a little while. But like from conception, like we kind of wanted to make it feel like an anthology movie, like a segment, like a Creepshow segment.
Yeah, we knew right at the gate it was going to be a short, and like both of our kind of like influence comes from like the campy, but not the overly campy.
I would even say
slapstick.
I would even say absurd, but I mean,
absurd,
I guess
that's a good way
pretty
to
absurd.
call it. Yeah.
I mean, I know you guys for a while, but like I wasn't involved with that project. I mean, I've seen it obviously.
Yeah.
I think you guys nailed it. I mean, especially like the lighting and the vibe that you guys have in that film, and just the way you shot it gives that vibe heavy duty.
Well,
so I think you accomplished what you guys were going for.
Thanks,
yeah, thank you, man. I mean, clearly from the colors and and even like our friend John Saltarelli, R.I.P., who's in that, when he gets taken by the monster. Yeah. There's
when
like,
folds up.
Dude, there is like a lot of the crate happening in that scene.
Absolutely.
Especially with like the noises and stuff that we kind of put in.
And it's like going into, sort of going on a tangent, but it's like our influence comes from like literally what Creepshow is.
100%.
And everything.
Yeah.
It's like the tone, the atmosphere, the music, and the lighting. It's like the lighting was just, it's fun doing colored lights and
it's a ton of fun to make, like, to just blast the primaries and get all that color contrast and stuff. But yeah, not to go on a tangent, but I wanted to bring it up and talk about it because we never really ever talked about it on anything before.
That's true. That's a good point.
Especially on Movie Dumps, right? I mean, it's come up in the past that there's film ideas and there's trailers that we've worked on together, or guys have worked on. But
I think it's because,
not really.
Again, we don't want to toot our own horn. But hey, we did a thing. Check it out. But
so I'm marking it right now because what I've noticed over the past 5 to 10 years is that if you don't do that, nobody knows who the fuck you are, what you're doing, what you're capable of, because I've run into so many situations like that, and I've like beat myself up about it. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I can't really do that because they didn't know. You know what I mean? So I got to be like, hey, I did this. I got to be that fucking guy that's like, yeah, I did that.
Look at me, everyone.
Look at me, everybody.
Center of attention.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to take a page out of Tony from Hack the Movies book, our good friend.
Well, we did actually talk about Outhouse once on Mike Boylan's show. I think before it became Alone in the Dark podcast, or was it already Alone in the Dark?
I think it was already Alone in the Dark.
It was already Alone in the Dark, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
When we talked about it, when we first dropped it, I think, and when we did Feel the Screams too.
Yep.
And another thing that really was heavily influenced by this too was the creature feature short that I did, that I shot and directed and did all the special effects for. That was heavily Creepshow vibe orientated. You were on that shoot. You helped out a big time.
Running wires, pulling lights, and
dude, you were doing focus. You helped me with the crane. It was a lot of fun that one. That was a good time.
It was a good 2 a.m. shoot.
It was the best. It was a good 2 a.m. shoot.
Meanwhile, once again, I'm just in the. I got the video. I watched the end result. I'm like, good job, good job. This looks awesome. But was I there for the grueling hours?
But again, like just to put that point across, like, yes, we're influenced by this movie, and sometimes it just happens. Like when we're composing a shot or we're doing something, like it's just like Creepshow just comes out,
and it's almost
it like leaks through,
like on purpose.
No,
it's just when we do like a color switch, like a normal color to like all red. It's like then it's like, oh, the Creepshow effect.
Yeah,
and it's like we know what we're talking about, but then it's like more subtle things come into play, and it's like we may not know we're doing something that was in Creepshow because Creepshow has everything.
I know, but then when you do it, you're like, oh fuck it. Like, but it's okay, especially if you pull it off.
Exactly. Yeah,
for sure.
So that's our personal history.
So that's our personal history with it. But like Chris and I have bonded over this movie and EC Comics and Tales from the Crypt, which we'll get to eventually after we completely cover Tales from the Dark Side. We will get to Tales from the Crypt. But they're just they're very big parts of our lives, just as horror fans and as filmmakers.
And I'll just say my personal experience, because I don't have anything that deep with this movie. Sure. Like, I do like it a lot. Just, say that right out in the front here. But this is just one I came to early, when I first started getting into horror. Again, I know I've talked about this before on the show, but like in my late teens, this was one that was like, I think either Joe recommended it or it popped up on TV one day. My dad maybe even. Somebody recommended it to me. I watched it. I fell in love. And every time I watch it, it's a fucking joy, guys. And I didn't grow up with those comics. I mean, I've read a few.
Well, they're from the 50s.
No, but I'm saying like those like horror style comics.
Right.
Wasn't something I personally grew up with. But I dabbled. I had some vampire ones. So like I didn't quite go into the shoes of maybe you guys, but I can kind of relate. Yeah, I mean, like I guess that's my personal experience. And I don't, again, nothing super heavy, but it's a really fun movie, and I can kind of relate to a point.
Yeah. So I grew up with the Tales from the Crypt like reprints. It's like they did them in the 50s, the initial run. That's when all the these filmmakers,
those big box sets.
Yeah, those ones.
Yeah.
They also did reprints in the early 90s.
Okay.
Right around the time when the TV show on HBO was big. So it's like, that's when I caught it, was like during the reprints when it's like, oh, what's this?
Yeah.
It's like, that's how I found out about it. And it's like when kids were reading like Goosebumps and like
totally
all that kind of stuff, I was already into Vault of Horror, Haunt of Fear, reading about, just all those like insane stories. And so seeing this and knowing that this was like a love letter to those comics.
Sure.
This is like the best thing.
Oh, 100%. I mean, look, what Zemeckis did with Tales from the Crypt, we'll talk about.
Oh yeah, that's
sure.
There's a lot,
which is a whole nother ball of wax. But
I wish we could talk about it now.
Yes, but there's
that thought.
But there's, I guess, just to drive the point home, there's nothing really like this movie done this way successfully.
No,
and in my opinion, this is the best, the seminal anthology movie. I love my anthologies.
Oh, so
and you love your
do,
anthologies.
yeah.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
But I think this one is like the fucking bee's knees, top shelf. Fucking.
This is the one.
This is the Johnny Walker Blue of anthology movies.
Well, I'll mention Tales briefly, just again, because, I go back and listen to some of those old episodes, just kind of preparing myself for this, like, for Creepshow, and like we were saying a little earlier, some new Talks episodes. And, like, we talk a lot on that show, like, how those episodes fit together as a puzzle. Like, maybe you don't like every episode, but you can kind of see, like, all right, this doesn't work for me, but it works in the puzzle that is Tales from the Dark Side.
The bigger picture,
yeah. Like, every piece of this puzzle, let's say, just interlocks so perfectly, and you get like a little bit of every subgenre of horror kind of in this film, and it's done with that kind of snarky spin from those EC comics, man. And it's just kind of, I mean, we're gonna get into each one, man, but like I'm already ready to reach for it off the damn shelf, man. And we just started the review.
Well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a whole bunch of trivias that I feel like will just come up naturally as we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Will you guys concur with that?
We don't
need
I think
to.
we each have trivia too.
We each
Yeah,
have.
yeah,
we got
yeah.
a lot.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about, and go into and kind of dissect and enjoy. What I will say is that this film is written by Stephen King. You have two titans of horror, George Romero and Stephen King, coming together for this and just fucking knocking it out of the park.
I think you got three, man. You got that third one knocking on the door doing the makeup and special effects.
Oh, and Tom Savini. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about Tom and his stuff with this film, because this was like, well, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
And having like George Romero and Stephen King together, it's like this movie, it's like this shouldn't have, it's like one of those things, you put a dream list together, people you want to work together. This is two of them, and it's like somehow this movie got put together, and here we are.
This is like lightning in a bottle stuff.
It's crazy. And it's like,
it really is.
You could tell they're having fun, just like two buddies working together, just putting this together with a bunch of like Pittsburgh locals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they're both on the same page. They both have the same drive and passion for these things. And and again, to come back to it, but the comics that they grew up with.
Yeah.
So without further ado, I want to say one last thing. You saw the intro of this and you heard some music. That was by our good friend Matt Cannon of Lapses, who did the Movie Dumpster Creepshow score. It's his version of the John Harrison main theme of the movie. So you're going to be hearing that intermittently. And thank you so much, Matt. It came out amazing. So without further ado, let's jump into this.
Started off with a slap to the face by Tom Atkins.
A mustache-less.
Oh my
Tom
God.
Atkins.
It is a little weird to see him without a mustache.
Yeah, it's
My
weird.
wife's like, he's got too much upper lip,
Yeah.
right? And she's like, no. Only mustache Tom for me.
It's like a real life Homer Simpson.
Yeah. Well, except he changes, for the Duff beer for your straight liquor.
Yeah, right. Well, he needs a sip of it to put that fucking
Drinks
stash on.
beer, beats his kid.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So this is the wraparound portion of the story. So Tom's not having it, man. He's not his little boy, Joe Hill, by the way.
Which is like we have to point out. I'm sure that everybody knows this trivia already, but
well, if you don't know, Joe Hill is Stephen King's son. There you go.
Right.
Bingo bongo.
Also now a famous horror writer.
Yes.
A lot of comic horror too.
Yeah, big time. He wrote the Tales from the Dark Side comic books that Jason Hill was so nice to send to us. We have to jump into those at one point. But yeah, he's got the comic book, and you hear him just like berating his kid like outside the house. And I guess it's Halloween because there's a jack-o'-lantern. He's like, where do you get this crap? Where do you think you get this crap from? This horror crap. This horror crap. Meanwhile, everything it looks like here, but it looks like my room as a kid. There's like a fucking Rodin hanging off the thing. There's like a Dracula poster. All kinds of good.
Well, that stuff's not too over the top, not too violent.
People turning into plants for Christ's sake.
Well, yeah, you get your fucking plot dump is from Tom Atkins in the beginning, which I love.
Yeah, a little bit of spoiler alert from Tom Atkins before we even jump into the movie.
Telling you all about the stories that are about to happen.
Stephen King turns into a plant.
Yeah. By the way,
people coming back from the dead.
That could cover a few of them. Yeah.
Ted Danson. It's just funny because Joe Hill's like, he's like, oh, it's not any worse than the books you keep in your drawer.
Those sex comics.
Those sex books.
Oh my God.
Fucking 5 across the face from Tom.
Mom just stands there. Oh, come on. Typical, hands-off mother.
He's a goddamn little snoop, too. But he was just getting his cufflinks for Sunday church, and he found the books, You
gotta hide your porno better.
Hey, yeah, really.
In his underwear drawer. Then there's like one last glimmer of hope from Joe. He's like, I'm sorry, Dad. Can I just have my comic book back? And he's just like, if I catch you with this crap again, you won't sit down for a week, buddy boy. And I tuck in.
It throws it right in the trash can.
What a piece of shit. He like goes out and like throws it in the garbage can. There's like a fucking bolt of lightning and the spooky breeze and everything.
Yeah, he pulls off the asshole dad thing like really well.
He's fantastic. Yeah. He really is.
You don't see him do that often, but he nails it here.
Yeah, he's always like a soft, lovable like teddy bear kind of guy.
Yeah, well,
Night of the Creeps, he's a little bit more of an asshole, but I feel like it's because he's trying not to hurt anybody. He's pushing people away, but he's not an asshole.
Yeah.
Well, that's after he gets a divorce, right? From his wife in this movie. Joe Hill grows up, moves out. Yeah. He gets the fucking voodoo thing, but he survives, ends up killing that guy. And then, he ends up with like a bottle of scotch, taping up his fucking door. He's going to kill himself in Night of the Creeps. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
It links up.
And at some point, Halloween 3 inverts itself into this.
I think that was pre-Creepshow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was Joe Hill put the mask on and his head turned to fucking snakes and rats? And
Tom was fucking the robot chick, and then he settled down.
Okay.
And had Joe Hill.
Joe Hill's a robot. Okay. Half robot.
He might be.
It's MDU lines up.
Checks out.
We gotta get some more Atkins on this show to really figure that through line out.
So it wraps up, and Tom has that great line because he's like, "What do you want him reading that crap?" He's like, "I took care of it."
Yeah.
That's why God made fathers, babe.
Sits back
with his fucking
God made fathers.
Bud Light.
I love though how little Joe Hill, he's sitting there like with tears down his eyes, making a deal with the devil. He's like, I wish he would go to hell. And this fucking this creep,
the creep,
walks in and is like, okay, we can make that happen.
He's outside his fucking
talk
window.
About that shot.
Okay,
it's unbelievable.
In subsequent releases, in the early releases, I remember watching this on tape a lot, and that shot in particular was kind of hard to see, all the array of motion on the creep's face. But dude, that Scream Factory Blu-ray, you can see all of the mechanics going on in its face, smiling and looking around and
plus
shit.
The way it's lit and everything. They really pulled it out.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, I guess the creep is a real entity.
Well, it's at least gonna be your
guide through the creep.
Exactly.
It's more or less a host.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like the crypt keeper if you didn't talk.
It's like the witch or the vault keeper or the crypt keeper. Yeah.
So our first bit of trivia
Yeah.
So they actually called it Raoul on set.
Oh.
What is there a reason for that you can find?
No, just some Tom Savini like nickname.
Slimer. I mean, became Slimer just because that's what people eventually called him. What it was like, Onion Head. Is
Oh
what they
yeah,
refer to him
yeah.
as,
Yeah. Before that, yeah. So we get this amazing animated sequence here. So originally, it was going to be the creep outside the window, Tom Savini's practical creep, and they were going to put it on this giant crane, and they were going to do this pull-out shot over the town.
Can you imagine if they actually did that?
Oh my god!
It ended up. I think the reason they scrapped it because it was going to end up being like a $20,000 shot.
Helicopter.
Think about that. Think about that for a second. A
seriously.
$20,000 shot.
Not worth it. Yeah, I'll take the animation any day, either way. But,
Well, so Michael Gornick, the cinematographer, he calls up Rick Catazone, and he's like, look, we got to figure this out. Like, he sends him like the film footage of like what they were trying to do. Especially like they were also trying to do the comic practically too, like in the beginning where it folds open and and they were trying to get it to land right, so he sends them some footage, and they're like, this isn't gonna work out. So they opt for a fully animated thing that Rick does, and it actually works to the benefit of it because it kind of turns into the comic book, which is the whole point anyway, and it was like a happy accident that kind of happened because instead of doing it practically, it ended up working out for the better because it's like one of the most iconic pieces in the film.
And this like sets the stage for like the rest of the film.
The tone.
Yeah, I was gonna say all those other like comic book things. Like I know other movies have tried that since then. I know Ang Lee's The Hulk always comes to mind, but I feel like no one really has nailed that. I mean, the Watchmen director's cut kind of gets there, but it still doesn't. But this movie, it's just like, man, pairing just the live action with comic stuff is just like those frames around certain scenes and the backgrounds and everything, man, just throughout. Oh my god, so good.
It's absolutely incredible. And like the animation that Rick had done for that is just it's so good. And then of course it transforms into the different panels as we go through the movie and the comic to the live action and all that kind of stuff. It's just so fucking good.
And it's just fun.
It's just
it's like a neat little like way to like split up scenes and
John Harrison's score is kicked up over all of this, and it's just like, fuck, man, when that Creepshow flies out of the comic, ding, like ding ding ding, and the fucking things come up, it's like, it's just so good.
It's one of the best soundtracks I think in a film period, like of all time.
I agree.
It's good, and we love some John Harrison.
Oh yeah. John Harrison. We've talked about him many times on Talks from the Dark Side.
He directed a movie.
He did.
Yeah. Tales from the Dark Side, the movie.
Okay, yeah.
More anthology stuff.
We'll get to it
Yeah.
together.
Yep.
Okay. But I just want to also note on that animation sequence, and we do see this throughout too, like the ads in between, which is funny how that becomes relevant at the end of the film. But I love that extra detail that they were like, fuck it, we'll just put the ads in there. That's classic comics.
X-ray specs.
Yeah.
It's hard to get saying in your face. Yeah. Like all those old 50 ads you see in there.
The voodoo doll, which we'll come back to.
Yeah, exactly.
Just one thing, the last thing I wanted to note was that like to get the pages right, Rick did like almost like a stop motion thing with the pages where he would take pictures and have like this like little gimbal thing set up to like bend the pages right so that he could draw it like accurately. It's really fucking cool, man. Like incredible.
Yeah, a lot of work went into it and it pays off.
Yeah, the comic book itself was done by Kamen.
Jack Kamen.
Jack Kamen, who was an original EC artist. Yeah.
Okay, so are you saying like the physical comic that they use in the movie, or whether they put one actually out?
Well, this is the one they actually put out.
Okay, that's what I didn't know that.
Well, Jack Kamen did the cover of this.
Okay.
And then inside, Bernie Wrightston did all of the actual comic book itself inside.
Now, is the comic inside, so sorry to go off on a side tangent, I didn't even realize that's what you had out here, but is that actually like the comic of the movie on the inside?
This is like the comic of the movie.
Oh, wow. Oh,
so
my God,
like,
that's awesome.
So like, yeah.
Oh, wow. Holy shit.
And it's like all the stories.
That's incredible. I didn't even know that was a thing. I mean, it's been sitting here on display.
So they got an original like artist from the EC days to do the artwork. They originally wanted Graham Ingalls, which was another guy from the EC days, which he originally did the Haunt of Fear.
Right.
He was like the guy, like he had the look for the Haunt of Fear. It's like there's a lot of covers where it has like dripping witches and like a very stylized look.
Yeah.
With like dripping, like a lot of wet like looks.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
He has a very iconic look.
As you're talking about it, I wasn't putting two and two together. I was like, oh wait, shit, there was an actual comic. Oh my God, that's amazing.
But one last thing. none of the comic wasn't complete. So they had like these big panels. They Xeroxed it all on newsprint and then colored it in with colored pencils and then put the thing together.
It's pretty
That was so
cool.
fucking
no,
cool.
it's really neat. It's like all those little like technical things they pull off like that. They're always fun to hear about. And as you can tell, they put their love of like the craft into this.
Yeah. Oh, everybody is just on the ball with this. But with that being said, let's get into our first segment.
Father's Day.
I want my cake.
I got my cake.
There you go.
You need a cane.
A story in 3
Cordelia,
steps.
you bitch.
Oh my God. This fucking story, man.
Every fucking Father's Day, my dad does that. Like he screams it in the house. Where's my cake?
See what I mean? It's like you have more traditions and like things that you don't even aware of.
It's just part of it.
Yeah.
It's just part of it. And it's, again, like we were talking about, like it infiltrates everything. So we open up on it's so fucking cool because it goes, the comic book opens and it goes to the panel and it goes to
start from a comic book, fades into, now we're into our movie, like live action,
and our establishing shot of everybody. I think Aunt Leslie's there, or Aunt Sylvia, excuse me, Cass,
Ed Harris
is there.
I'm watching the movie and I'm like, again, I've seen this so many times, but I just forgot. I was like, why does this actor look so fucking familiar? And I'm like, I look at him like, oh yeah, Ed Harris, of course, and his little cameo.
Well, a lot of people came over. I think Night Riders is right before Creepshow, and a lot of the people came over, like even the production artists and stuff like that, the set artists and decorators and costumer and stuff, all came over from Night Riders. So it was kind of neat that Ed came over too.
And isn't one of the guys Warner Shook? Wasn't he like directed something we've recently covered?
So Warner Shook directed Grandma's Last Wish episode of Tales from the Dark Side.
Okay.
And he directed the Mr. Slobber episode of Monsters.
Okay. Oh, that's funny.
And if you see all these autographs on here, I just got to meet, I met Warner Shook, Daryl Ferrucci, Galen Ross, Tom Atkins, I met for the first time, believe it or not, and Christine Forrest. So I got to meet all of them, which was fucking incredible. Oh, and John Amplis too, which was really cool.
All at the 40th panel?
They were all, it wasn't a panel. It was just like I don't know if they did a panel. It was at Chiller.
Okay.
And it was like I just had gone, and that was like my first convention that I had gotten to go to this year. So it was like really,
that's cool.
It was like super special. It was cool. It was so great meeting everybody. I also met Chief Woodenhead from Creepshow 2, who signed my tape too. Anyway,
so they're all gathered around on this lovely Father's Day.
Yes, they are, to celebrate the death.
Murder
of their
murder.
What kind of person you have to be where people celebrate the day you died?
I think
it's some Twilight Zone shit, man.
I think they kind of say it in passing that Aunt Bedelia like makes them get together every year on Father's Day because she inherited all the money from her father, who's their great uncle, I think, Nathaniel Grantham.
Tree thing.
Yeah. So she disperse it between her sister and her niece and nephew.
But they got to come there every year to get the money, I guess.
They have to come there. They're like contractually obligated to get together and have a fucking ham dinner with Aunt Bedelia at 6 p.m. on the dot.
Oh my God.
You set your clock by her.
Was it Aunt Sylvia gives the fucking lore dump to Ed Harris? She's like, well, she's going to get here, exactly like when she does every time. She's going to be out there for like 2 hours blubbering. Then she's going to come up and we're going to have dinner. And he's like, oh, okay. You hear the car pull up right as she's saying it.
Yeah. Screech to a halt, as they say. Yeah. She's fucking great, man. When she's on screen, like she just commands the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when she goes to the grave, and she's got the fucking Jim Beam and shit, and she's like talking about like,
and that whole scene was improvised.
It's incredible.
Really?
It's incredible.
She nails it.
Yeah, she was great. But yeah, like Sean and Chris were saying, they're all talking about Aunt Bedelia, and they tell you the story of what happened, and like Nathan, who is Bedelia's dad, ended up like getting her fiance killed on like a fucking safari.
And then these clips here we have to talk about too, because it's like now we're bringing in more of the comic panels. I mean, we've had little like snippets here and there, transitions and stuff, but now what, like it's starting to get its own sort of like
you're getting like the squiggles around the panel
like
and
cool unique frames and little shots.
the frames and stuff like the Bedelia you bitch line when
when he's
where's my cake?
She's
7 years earlier and has the thing.
When she's making the cake and she's putting like that fondant on there and it says Happy Father's Day, but she's getting so unnerved it's just like cake batter all over the place.
I don't hear you.
Yeah. While the other maid is like watching her, like, are you like not saying it, but like you can see on her face, like, are you fucking okay, lady?
Like, Miss D.
Yeah.
So her father, so Nathan has like her husband killed,
straight up,
her fiance, and then like tasks her to take care of him because he has like a stroke and can't get out of his fucking chair. So if she wants the money, she has to take care of him, and he rubs that in her face like constantly. So Father's Day comes, she's making his cake, and God damn it,
angry.
I know he's shaking out the fondant.
We want that. He wants his cake, right? So she's squeezing it all out. She finally has enough of it. She goes in. She picks up this fucking giant marble ashtray and just smacks him upside the fucking Happy Father's Day and cracks him.
And then she's like later on when she's talking about it like all drunk, she's like, yeah, they couldn't tell. They would never check
Bad
it.
fall.
Yeah, bad form, Daddy. Ashtray back in place, chair overturned.
Yeah, half his head's caved in, but okay.
It was great because like there's like little things there where she's like, yeah, you taught us all well. You taught us all. You taught my mother. You fucked us all up and blah, blah, blah. And it's clear that she loved him, but she's obviously like hates him at the same time.
Yeah, she was at her breaking point.
Yeah. Unhealthy relationship. So instead of going back for the ham dinner, Nathan comes back from the dead.
He does.
Fucking punches out of the ground and she goes fucking crazy. I love the split diopter shots in this so much. Again, mimicked. I know De Palma did it a lot, but like I mimicked this kind of shot in the creature feature thing I did. And then we also did a panel in Outhouse that said like later
with like the comic look and everything.
The comic look,
we should have talked about that.
Yeah, we should have.
Before.
I also love the way this zombie looks. Like, part of it is just a zombie, but the way that it's always lit always has like these deep reds or blues always hitting it.
Yeah. Well, that's John Amplis in the costume.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So it's Martin. He's in Night Riders. He's in a bunch of Romero stuff.
And that makeup on the zombie, it's like that is definitely their like homage to like the EC illustrations, on the shirt.
Oh, big time.
And so you see like the dripping and everything.
Oh yeah,
it's
he's
like the way
dripping,
they wanted to have
motherfucker.
it in there.
I think that's why he's like one of the best zombies of all time, the most iconic, because it's just like it nails
him and
Tarman
Tarhead
so much. Tarman?
Oh yeah, Tarman.
Tarman's amazing too. But like specifically like from the translation from the artwork,
it just
to that.
looks gross.
Yeah, it's just
and
so
it's
good.
like there's like maggots coming off of it and everything, and plus the voice. We're gonna talk about the voice.
The voice. Yeah, and I want because he's already got a grating before he dies in the flashbacks, but with that reverberation and the zombie effect.
Bedelia.
I can't even do it. It's like
because it's like this
guttural.
It's like this bubbly digitation to the voice. You know it. How did they do this?
So I think it was a combination of like a flanger modulation and like a whole bunch of just really old equipment.
Yeah, I forget the guy who did all the sound work, but I know on the last story, They're Creeping Up on You, he used some kind of like old amplifier to get that voice modulation when Pratt's talking to the dude through the door.
Oh yeah.
Like specifically. And I just real quick, that guy noted that like he loved working with George Romero because George Romero was like, yeah, fucking make it cool, like do whatever you want, like experiment.
And it's like every production should be like this.
Yeah,
100%.
It's like just like try some weird ideas, see what works, and just have fun with it. Like be creative and make some weird stuff.
Putting trust in your people, really.
Yeah, having fun, being creative, and just letting other people have input. I mean, not to let it take over the production, because you need to wrangle clearly,
of course,
but like. The professionals in each particular field that's helping you create your film should be able to breathe. You know what I mean? And be able to lend their creative eye or ear to, the full picture. And especially the people that get it. I mean, that's the people you want on your team anyway.
Exactly. But then when you have like, conditions like that, when everybody's like allowed to be creative and have that little bit of freedom, it's like, then this happens.
Yeah.
Magic.
Like, then you get a voice And like, you know, sound effects, I mean, through a few of the segments here, there's like voice modulation that has never been done ever since.
And I think it's creepy, man. When it comes out of Nate, when it comes out of Jordy Verrill, when it comes out of Ted Danson and the other chick, like
creepy.
or Galen Ross rather, it's crazy. So he comes out of the grave, he in his full fucking glory, and he chokes the shit out of Bedelia. And heads back to the mansion just because he wants his cake.
He wants his cake, man. The only other character in history I can think of that wanted cake this fucking badly was Big Mom in One Piece. She would not shut the fuck up about that wedding cake for about 100 episodes.
I just love that's the driving force.
Yeah, literally, that's all he wants.
In that classic EC style. Oh, why is he back? I don't know, because he wants his
Father's
cake.
Day. He wants his cake.
Well, then I love how Ed Harris, they're like, go check on her. She's taking a while.
Hold the fucking phone when we cut back. Ed Harris is fucking
that dancing when he's like,
dude, my favorite thing.
Giving Crispin Glover a run for his money.
I call it the Ed Harris. It's just something I do. If you've ever seen me dance anywhere, sometimes I fucking, you get one of those. That's the fucking Ed Harris, man. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Don't let go.
Oh my God, you're right. We couldn't forget that scene. I was dying. I forget about it every time.
Okay, well now, Sylvia interrupts. She's like, turn that shit down. Where's Bedelia?
Yeah, get out there, Ed Harris.
Stop dancing, Ed Harris. That's the actual line from Creepshow.
Giving me agita, Ed Harris. Get the fuck out of here.
Ed Harris, go find Aunt Bedelia.
Go lay in that hole.
He's fucking, dude, Ed Harris is a cool motherfucker. Man. He lights that fucking Strike Anywhere with his hands and lights up a cigarette. I don't know. It's just fucking cool. So he goes out takes a midnight stroll. And again, like the lighting and the way that this is all shot is just, every fucking scene is like a comic panel.
Yeah.
It's
well crafted,
gorgeous.
Super moody.
Yeah. And it's creepy. I've seen this movie a million times, but going back for the review, like there's a lot of great tension in this film that I feel like doesn't really get its just due. Like people don't talk about that part.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's scary. Oh, no. It's scary,
especially this scene because it's like he does fall in the hole where Father came out of, let's say, and it's just like, all right, well, this is creepy, but I guess I'm okay. And then that like headstone starts tilting, and he's like, wow, what do I do? What do I do?
And it's slow too.
Yeah.
It doesn't just like he falls in; it just like falls on top of him. It takes a while, and he's sitting there like scared.
He is frozen with terror, and like I'm thinking, like if you were down in that fucking grave, like looking up, and this thing going, like
probably do the same.
You probably
thing.
wouldn't be able to move either. And the icing on the cake, no pun intended. He like reaches over to get out and grabs Aunt Bedelia and like pulls her like onto him by accident, and he's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And I guess something that I really like is that like. Nathan like also has telekinesis because he's like across the way like pulling this like telekinetically like pulling this fucking.
You know what's funny? Every time I watch this, I remember like I think of it a different way. Like I think he's behind it, pushing it.
That's what I thought.
Slow because he's all like undead, but and then he's not actually behind it.
No, I love it too because he's like reaching out. Like that shot is so
Let's
fucking
give him
cool.
some random like Jedi powers.
Yeah,
and he just pulls the stone.
Why not? This thing falls on Ed's head not only on Ed's head, but also Aunt Bedelia's with a crunch.
Sound.
That sound that happens when it falls, and Ed's little that he lets out that whimper.
It's like a watermelon getting smashed.
Dude, it's great.
Well, then the next victim, Sylvia, in this beautifully lit kitchen out of a fucking Argento film.
Well, I think
they're all influencing each other a little bit at this point. The Italians,
they're
and
definitely
whatnot.
George is definitely looking at some Argento films,
some
but
Fulci.
it's also very indicative of the comics.
No, 100%.
So yeah,
I'm digging it. I love she gets a quick death. It's like, hey Sylvia, how you doing? Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
fucking her head gets twisted.
Big time. Well, you know,
180.
It's got to make that cake somehow.
Yeah. Ain't life grand, Miss D?
Oh my God.
So Cass and I keep forgetting Warner Shook's name.
It's movie dumpster. Just call him Warner.
Warner Shook and Cass get up, and she's like, "Where is everybody? I'm hungry." So they go in there and they go to open the fucking door. I love the line by Warner Shook. He's like, "What are we trying to conserve energy?"
Because the lights are off.
Because the lights are off, and they're also like filthy rich. Yeah. They open the door to the fucking kitchen, and Nate is standing there with Aunt Sylvia's head on a platter. And I love this shot because now it goes full comic again, like you were saying. And this is the first time
music kicks in.
The music kicks in, but this is the first time we get those abstract
what do we
backgrounds.
Like just like back. It's not. Yeah, I guess
it's like an abstract.
It's like it looks a real projection.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's like a physical thing there that's lit that way, and then they're lit this way and this way. There's like four or five lights going on.
But it's awesome.
It looks so fucking good, and I love Warner shook because he's like, "Oh my god!"
The close up on father.
I was gonna say.
Oh, were you gonna do
the inward one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I love the father with the cake and the close up and everything. The cake.
That's the actress. Like that's not a fake head. She's in the thing, and the production designer. Excuse me, I'm forgetting his name. But was like, yeah, we're just gonna put some frosting on your head and put this neck appliance, and it looks great. Yeah. It looks like $1 million. And he got his cake.
Yeah. I know we talked about the music already, but there are two different kind of, I guess, soundtracks, if you will. I know it's all one soundtrack, but there's like the Creepshow music or theme that you kind of get at the beginning and end of every scene or part, I guess. But then you also have this very, again, 50s esque kind of background music that you get that is very much makes me think of. I always go back to Twilight Zone because that's my touchstone.
Like the piano?
Sure.
Yeah,
like
the music. You just it adds to the vibe overall. I just want to mention that specifically.
It's like you have like the mystery soundtrack where it's like do 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 do, like the real slow and careful stuff, and then you have like the terror. Yeah, it's like that moog, like
the It's fucking great.
And this scene too, it's like, there's a lot going on. We have the soundtrack kicks up. Yeah. You have like everything going on in the background. The lights, change all in one shot.
And then it pulls out to the comic panel.
Going to like, again, with the EC Comics, it's like a lot of them ended with like people's, little like word bubbles.
The punchline.
Just saying gasp. Yeah. Or like choke. Stuff like that. Yeah. And this is how that translates to screen.
100%. And it's, I mean, it's just done so damn well.
Yeah.
I guess, like, what did you guys think about this segment? Because it's a little different because, like, they're all split into segments. So I want to give, like, thoughts about this particular thing. Because we already know as a whole, it's fucking amazing.
Right, yeah.
But when we drill down.
I'll kick it off, I guess. I like this one. Yeah. It's not my favorite, but it's very memorable. Yeah. Especially that last shot where he comes in with the head on the plate. It's like, I never forget that again. Happy Father's Day, and I got my cake. Yeah. I always think of that. Yeah. So very, very memorable. But out of the whole, not my favorite, but very good.
And that's a good way to put it. It's like, it's memorable. Of course, you got the iconic looks and all this going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it sets the tone for the rest of the film too.
It does.
And I think it's a good icebreaker right in the beginning. I think the position of it is good.
Yeah, it's definitely a good like starter. I wouldn't put this in like towards the end. Yeah. It's not as strong.
No.
But as just to get going and kind of like introduce a lot of elements we're going to see throughout the movie. Mm-hmm. It's like, sure.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid watching this, I remember like being bored with this one and only like looking up and paying attention
when Nathan was on screen.
Exactly.
The zombie.
Because that's the cool part.
Yeah.
The rest, it's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm not listening to all
people.
This. Yeah.
What are they talking about?
Yeah, exactly. But until you get a zombie coming out of the ground and some guy's head getting smashed with a
I think it's really good. And again, like I said, I mean, I just think it's perfectly placed, like where it is in the order of stuff. I think the makeup on or the suit rather of Nathan is just really good and iconic and memorable, and just like you guys said, it's just super well done. And yeah, I it's a good one. It's not my favorite one, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
And then we move on to the lonesome death of Jordy Verrill.
Meteor shit, guys. Fucking meteor shit.
It's meteor shit, dude. Man,
I love this one.
Yeah,
I have to say
this is a super fun.
This one is like the best mix, I feel like, of like an Atomic Age and the 50s comic and right.
The
Atomic Age and the horror and the EC horror comic.
And it's got like the weird humor, like the campy elements, but also like the creepy and like terrifying parts.
Also doesn't go too far. And the horror stuff is fucking terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, especially at the end there when it all kind of goes full circle. You're like, oh, this isn't actually funny. This is fucked up.
So welcome Stephen King as the lunkhead Jordy Verrill.
He went out at the top, man. This man should have never acted again. This is
I wish Stephen King acted more.
Oh wow.
Yeah, if this is what he brings to the table, sure.
The only thing I can remember him in is like Sleepwalkers.
Yeah,
I would say Pet Cemetery. He's like the priest at the funeral, but yeah.
Oh yeah. In the original, right?
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
the priest,
yeah.
Yeah, he does his cameo roles, and usually they're just like, oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Look, that's Stephen King.
This is classic.
But this is like he's got the whole show to himself, and he kills it. I love it.
He's amazing.
And this is like 80. This is 82. So right before you know where I'm going with this.
I know where you're going with this.
So this is right
before cocaine and cough medicine.
Right before Maximum Overdrive, before we started directing.
Just put him over the edge.
Yeah.
Right? He was like, I could do that.
Or is this the beginning?
I think
this is like his coke habit started with like method acting for Creepshow, maybe, where he just wanted to be batshit insane.
And then he actually became. I think he was an alcoholic before this.
Oh,
seriously.
I do coke with Stephen King.
I
It's
would.
like, hey,
If Stephen King was like, "You want to do this?" I'd be like, "Yes."
It's like a movie about cars that run over people.
I
my
fucking
God.
do whatever.
I kind of like that movie as much as he hates
it's great.
it or doesn't remember.
I think it's a fucking blast.
Yeah.
Maximum Overdrive is great.
It's
I
a
mean,
trip.
everybody said it sucked at the time, and now everybody, it's like that Halloween 3 effect.
Well, right.
Well, that's the thing about like Stephen King, and I won't go too
you're
out
good
there with this, but Stephen King stuff, it's like the best way to enjoy it is to not take it seriously.
It knows
Would you
what it knows what it is, and
Yeah.
you need to know what it is to enjoy. I mean, there are some legitimately scary things I think Stephen King has written and even put to film, but like for the most part, it's that raunchy, goofy stuff that's all peppered throughout there.
Oh yeah.
For every scare, there's a laugh. I would say.
Yeah.
And you need to understand that.
And it's not perfect.
No.
Yeah. And kind of same thing with this. It's like
it's real though, but it's real. I feel like, and I think that's why people connect to the Stephen King stories and how he writes and stuff.
Yes. But you mentioned Atomic Age, and this is definitely the one that feels the most like it because it's that age-old fucking story you saw in all those old movies, and
it's the Blob.
With something crashes down. Somebody that doesn't know any better fucks with it and has a bad time.
I'll be dipped in shit if that ain't a meteor.
Well,
and you know what's funny? It's like, again, going back to like how much this has influenced and like left an impression on us.
Yeah.
Every single time since I've been a kid, every single time that I see a meteor or a comet or a shooting star or something, instantly I think of this segment.
That's what you think of.
Every single
The
time.
only other one that comes to mind is Joe Dirt because he makes such a big deal out of it in the beginning. But yeah, this is the one that immediately snaps into my brain too.
But like, I don't even think about the Blob. Like, I think about the lonesome death of Jordy Verrill.
Yeah,
true.
Then like wherever it lands, I'm not touching it.
Yeah,
No,
fuck
fuck
that.
no.
Not without gloves, at least.
Gotta cool the son bitch off.
This guy is just like the ultimate redneck stereotype. Guy living by himself on a farm.
Oh, dude, Royal Dano is down the fucking street with Pooh Bear, man. He's going to check out a fucking Killer Clown.
Royal Dano's in better shape. He at least uses the damn bathtub. This guy looks like his hair's like stuck to his head and has so much grease.
This one's like, it's just a scam. Like, he's trying to like, he thinks that he's going to get money for this meteorite.
And not even that much money.
No.
What, $200?
We pay off that bank loan.
Yeah. Go to
That's
the
a ticket.
Department of Meteors.
I love it too because of the daydreams that happen.
Oh, and the angles they're shot on and the over-the-top doctor.
Hey,
Yeah, all
like,
those like Dutch angles, just making it more like just
weird and the
surreal.
soft filter that's around everything with like that halo vignette. Like, it's just so great. And that weird voice modulation effect is actually a little bit on these dream sequences too.
You're right.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. He thinks he's gonna bring this meteor to the Department of Meteors and hit it big, and like he's not gonna get a penny under $200.
Yeah.
By the way,
the guy breaking out the money out of the wallet. No, how about 90? 200.
how does $75 sound?
Mama Verrill didn't raise no idiot.
That's what he keeps saying.
Keep a counting.
But of course he touches it because he's a moron.
No,
touches
lunkhead.
You lunkhead.
And
Oh,
he's-
lunkhead. Yeah, right. Yeah.
He
He keeps
spells
doing this. Oh, he's sticking it in his mouth. It's like,
Well, he burns his fingers, and he's going to get water to cool off the meteor. So and you already see like these bumps start to form on his fingers, which are fucking disgusting.
And they look so painful.
Dude.
They're just like
Oh
all
my God.
white, and it's
Like immediately.
you can almost feel them.
And he's sucking on him.
I mean, again, he's painted as some kind of dope. It's
Sure.
really over the top.
He's
but
not
that's
an idiot.
the point.
He's just
Wow.
dumb.
So then, like you said, Joey pours a bucket of water on this motherfucker, cracks in half. And I love, like, the first flashback, or what he thinks in his head, rather, is that he's going to get that money. And now, like, the second that he breaks, he's like, oh, you lunkhead. And it's like, the doctor, I wouldn't give you a dime for this.
Like,
Get the hell out.
He'll shy.
For a broken media, I wouldn't give you 2 cents. I love the shot right before it cuts back, and he, like, puts his hat over the...
Yeah, he's all embarrassed.
Oh, my
Over the
God.
bucket.
Yeah.
But again, this man should not handle any hazardous chemicals.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
again, I get that's the joke, and I'm reading too much into it, shocker. But I love how he grabs, like, this fucking thing, and it's like this, like, bowls of, like, blue liquid. And I just dump it
No,
out.
What is that?
It's all over his hands.
It's full of the Predator healing juice, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I can see it.
I love, like, he just... It's a completely alien fucking thing, and he just picks up, he's like, yeah, just dump this shit out.
It's on his hand. Oh, meteor shit.
Meteor shit.
And he touches it, what, like 10 seconds after it lands?
Dude, it's all
It's
over
like the thing
him.
just burned through the atmosphere.
Again,
He's
he
just
should
gonna,
have seen
pick
the
it up.
damn blob. He would have at least had a tip.
He's
Yeah.
sucking on his fingers. He's rubbing the shit all over him. He puts the 2 halves in the bucket and decides he's going to glue it together in the morning and maybe get some money for it. And then here comes the descent into the moldy depths of this story.
Dude, he's got to call Lawnmower Man. He's got to get him over there, man. He's got a problem out on aisle 9.
I love the vividness of the colors in this story in particular. The green is just something that permeates this entire segment. So in this meteor, there's some kind of space mold or like space plant shit.
Yeah, some kind of like hyperactive, like just fertilizer or some kind of like plant, organic life.
It grows on everything. It's growing off of beer bottles.
It grows
and
all over
cushions.
the place. He notices it on his fingers when he takes a sip of his fucking beer. It's like on his clothes and stuff.
It's like
He's
everywhere he's touched in the last like hour or so.
Yeah, I love it though, because he's like, Jordy Farrell, you lunkhead, you been, and he looks at his fingers and he looks up and there's like a swell of color behind it.
Yeah.
Like this, like realization. It's just so fucking cool.
After 6 hours of sucking on this fucking shit on your finger. Oh, my tongue. Whoops.
There's another daydream where he thinks he has to go to the doctor's now because he's calling the doctor.
Yeah.
And then he hangs up because he's like, he has this daydream where he's like, oh, Mr. Verrill, those fingers have got to come off. Yeah. And he like pulls out like a fucking
it's a butcher
machete
knife.
A cleaver.
Yeah,
to like cut his fingers off.
This is gonna be very painful, Mr. Verrill. He's like, ah!
I love when he opens his mouth and the thermometer falls out of it.
Just drops out.
So good. So he's like watching Lou Albano or some shit. Wrestling.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he keeps going back to outside to show you like what it looks like, and it's just like green everywhere.
Yeah, slowly getting overgrown by this weird plant. And it's like, what's going on from the first shot when he was inside. It's like,
visual
you
storytelling.
see where it's heading and you're like, oh, how bad is this going to
get? That's what's so great about it is like, how far is this going to go? So he runs into the bathroom. He like looks at his tongue. It's all fucking green because he's been sucking on his fingers. So he decides to make a giant cocktail to like soothe his nerves.
Like orange juice and vodka.
He finds the vodka bottle. He just pours it in.
With the
there you are, you sucker.
That's the way to do it.
I think that's how he was making his cocktails at the time.
I mean, he's coping. His hands are basically like Muppets at this point.
Yeah.
So he gets fucking shit-faced on this screwdriver and passes out. And he wakes up and he's like, he thinks it was, he's like, oh, what a horrible
dream.
Yeah, he's got, he looks like Treebeard.
I was gonna say.
He's got like the whole fucking face full. It's all over him. It's now on his chest and shit. He like runs into the bathroom and he's like taking off all his clothes.
He's itching everywhere. He's
Oh
like,
my God.
Oh Lord, don't it itch?
He's gonna give himself an oatmeal bath.
It's true. Yeah, he needs some fucking calamine
Yeah,
lotion.
exactly. So he turns the water on in the bath, and I guess like it's implied, but they don't ever flat out say it because you only get Jerry his viewpoint in this.
Jordy,
excuse me. But he has like this vision of his dad.
and he just coming to life in the mirror.
Yeah, like,
where does this come from?
Is he drunk? Is he crazy?
Right, because I guess my point is, I guess these things are affecting his brain in some capacity and making him turn the water on because that's what they want.
That's a great thing. It reminds me of those funguses that take over like
I think that's what it
insects.
is. Yeah.
You know what I
him
mean?
Go to like the top of a like plant to get eaten by a bird.
Exactly. Which is that's kind of cool. I never really thought about that until you just said that.
Yeah, but the vision of his dad, like, that's what it wants. Don't
the
go in the water.
It wants, Jordy.
He's like, you've been dead for how many years?
Christ, 3 years at least.
The water in the shot too. It's like the effect they use. I swear there's like glitter in the water.
Yes.
They lit it with like this very cool blue like gel and everything.
Yeah.
It's like the best looking water.
I want to go in
Right?
it.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
It's like this thin like film or some kind of material that has like sparkles in it because the sparkles don't disperse.
Yeah.
Right.
It looks really fucking cool.
And they definitely do a thing when there's like no talking in that scene. Like it dispersed in between while he's telling him not to go in. You definitely have like the sound of the water's louder for it to really affect him.
I'm a gunner already, Daddy.
Well, he's gonna wish he didn't go in there because he goes in and then you get the time lapse to the next morning.
Oh, he's like, oh, much better, much better.
The whole house is covered at this point. It looks like something out of Fallout.
The shot that they show to signify night to day, though, is just so, it's just lit so fucking good that like the shot out the window and the rays are coming, like that volumetric light's coming in. I don't know, it's really cool. Now he's a plant man.
He's full Swamp Thing, man.
Yeah. And this is where it goes from like, we just did a jump from like, oh, goofy, like, Stephen King jokes being a goofball to like, oh, what the fuck?
Now it's Alien, please kill me, basically.
Yeah. He like pulls out a shotgun.
And he's sitting there like against the wall, like just...
He can barely move, man. He's like a plant, basically.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't know what you're looking at first because he's not moving right away. And then all of a sudden this lump that's like leaned against the wall just moves a little bit. Oh, you're like, oh, what the?
It comes to life, and he's like, oh, please, God, just give me my good luck, just this once.
You know what's funny? I mentioned Fallout. I didn't even really mean to think about it that way, but Fallout New Vegas, they had to be referenced in this movie. There's actually a vault you can go into where something like this has happened to everyone in the vault. They're turned into like plant people like Jordy Verrill.
Oh, maybe.
Just an aside there, made me think of it.
So he puts both barrels to his dome and fucking blows his head off.
Just this one time!
But it's like kind of sad.
It's super, the lonesome death of Jordy Verrill.
Yeah.
What makes this scene even more sad is that there's no music at all. He blows his brains out, and it's like a news broadcast for like the farmers, whatever.
The farmers report.
The farmers report. And he's just like, oh, well, there's going to be a hell of a lot of rain, so all you farmers are going to enjoy it. Meanwhile, we're just sweeping through the house, showing it all covered, and then we go outside.
From the house to the yard.
Yeah.
To the street. Showing like Castle Rock. That's a nice
I thought that was pretty
Stephen
great.
King nod.
Yeah.
And
you
it's
think
like,
this is like right outside of Derry?
It has to.
It's gotta be.
Yeah. And it's like you see this like plant life like creeping out, like out from the yard where it started. Now it's like going up the road.
It's all over the sign. It's on the road.
Oh.
It's not going to end well for the rest of the world, but the end.
Completely engulfed in green alien mold. So what do we think about this one? As a whole story.
This one's fun. Again, it's not my favorite, but it's so damn funny. I always, even though it's fucked up at the end that he has to kill himself, because I don't blame him, honestly. Yeah. Like, it always puts a smile on my face just because Stephen King is hamming it up so well in this. If that even makes sense, it's just like the camp is right where it needs to be.
Yes.
It doesn't get too campy. It doesn't go under. Like, it's hard to explain, but you get what I'm saying. And he just nails this role, and it's, again, I said this on the first one. This one's memorable also. Still not my favorite, but for a one location scene, it does its job. And again, like, we're laughing at it all the way through. The meteor shit, you never forget that. It's great.
I love this one.
It's great.
Again, not my favorite, but it's a fun watch. And I feel like it's very concise.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as it's like the meteor falls, it's like as soon as we get to the panel and it starts, the meteor falls in like the first like 5 seconds.
We're ready to go.
So it's right to the point.
Yeah.
You're just kind of going through it. And I feel like this is like a very short segment.
Yeah. Like I feel like this is like this one and Creeping Up on You are like very short.
Yeah.
Stephen King is a fucking treat in this. He's just so funny, and like I really love those green colors, and like again I can't stress this enough. Gornick went back for this 4K restoration of Creepshow for Shout Factory, and like really went back and like fixed all the colors and stuff how he wanted it, and like I just absolutely love the way that it's lit and all the greens that come out in this. It's funny, it's scary, and it has this kind of air of impending doom around it that I really like. It's almost like an apocalypse story, kind of.
Yeah.
That's why I think of Fallout when you say that.
Yeah. You're like watching this thing at ground zero.
Yeah.
And just like taking over this poor guy.
But the best
poor
part,
stupid guy.
The punchline is at ground zero is this poor stupid guy dreaming about paying off his bank loan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I also do like those ones occasionally you get, like in anthologies in general, where it's like you have way more information as an audience member or someone viewing this than the actual person in it. So you know from, again, that first 5 seconds, oh, this is going to go bad for this guy, but he has no clue in the world. So it just adds that extra element as someone watching. You're like, oh shit, I have the information you don't know.
And I can't imagine this being acted by anyone else.
No, it had to be King.
It's like he's got the, I can't even say like acting chops, because it's like I think he just did this for like the hell of it, like
for the lulls.
Yeah, just for have a good time. But I really can't see anybody else doing this.
No, and like he knows exactly how it should play out.
Yeah,
and I think his comedic timing is really good.
Oh yeah,
and as far as just an actor, I think when you're a writer and stuff like that, and you really put yourself into those kinds of roles of your characters and stuff, I don't know, I just think he nailed it like big time. And
George Romero wanted Stephen King to act like Wile E. Coyote.
Like
the moment before he falls off a cliff, it's like that was his like direction.
Yeah,
I think he's
the big the eyes and the you know when he
just
grabs his face and shit.
Silly, even the sound effects too. We didn't talk about them before. Just like they're weird.
Yeah, when he touches the meteor and stuff, it's like one of those instruments where like the ball goes back and forth and goes. I don't even know what the fuck that is called, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but it's a fun watch. Like, you know, same with, like you said, it's like not my favorite, but it's a fun watch.
Oh, let me just add this real quick. There's also the stock music that's used that kind of blends into John's score, which I didn't realize until we fucking just watched it today.
Yeah.
And the mixer, the guy who mixed the movie, was like, yeah, and then we use like stock elements, and then like it was like all bridged together. I thought that was original compositions by John, and it's not. It's like stock sci-fi music, which is crazy.
And that's all the stuff that's playing like when he's just like, you know, hanging around his house and like.
Oh yeah, well that's what I was talking about earlier. Like,
you
have the main theme, which is incredible, but you have all those like stock music.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you meant the stock music.
I'm saying like that stuff's like adds like that literal cherry on top to get you that feeling that it's like kind of that 50s style comic.
It's like adding a VHS filter onto footage now,
right?
Yeah.
Or a Betamax filter, even, you know?
To make it feel like that.
It just puts a date, and especially for this Jordy Verrill segment, it's like with his house and where he is.
Yeah.
It puts a time on it and kind of pulls you out of like, you know, current, you know, where we are now.
It plops you right exactly in the mind frame and the time period that it wants you to. Just let that wash over you for a second.
Yeah.
So next up, we have Something That Tied You Over.
Yes. I feel like this one is probably my favorite. I'm just going to say that right out front here because just some of the acting choices in this are incredible. Like
even casting choices.
Leslie Nielsen, man. Like he did serious shit before he was known for comedy. But like this is like, I feel like if you didn't know that and you saw this for the first time, you're like, Leslie Nielsen, Naked Gun. Holy shit. This guy can act.
And he's great.
He is like he's talk about bone chilling. I know, Joe, that's a word you like to use a lot.
Well,
like,
I don't own it.
I know, but I'm saying like I associate you with it. It's a positive thing, Joe. He is bone chilling as hell in this segment.
Yeah, that's my big takeaway from this. Normally, like when I watch it, is just like how good Leslie Nielsen is at being the bad guy.
Yeah,
and it's such a 180 to, like Sean said, to what people normally see him do. It just feels really good, and I just wish he got to do more of that, you know?
And it's cool. It's nice because he was a classically trained actor, like doing like Forbidden Planet,
like
all the old sci-fi stuff. And he found his footing in comedy, and he's hilarious.
He's hilarious.
One of my favorite comedians.
I think he's fantastic, man.
He's great.
And but this is like a welcome foothold for him to be plopped into this movie.
Yeah,
and the subject matter, so that's kind of.
I mean, even Ted Danson, honestly. I mean, I'm not as familiar with his.
Everybody
work
knows his name
from the '80s. Well, yeah, he was doing Cheers. He's doing Cheers at the time, but I'm sure he had other roles, but that was probably what he was known from. So then he goes to this.
Cheers was the big one,
and again, he plays kind of like, even that show was like a drama. It was like a comedy drama.
Yeah.
I mean, sitcom more or less, but it's like, yeah. Well, George Wentz there, of course, from House, famously, of course.
Yeah.
But my point being Ted Danson being here in this more serious role too. And like a role typically like you would be like, fuck that guy because he's like a cheater. That you're like, oh, honey, like, yeah, like that's fucked up, but maybe you didn't deserve this punishment,
Well,
you know?
again, you have two comedians
Yeah.
playing the straight man, you know, and one's the straight man and one's the evil guy.
Yeah.
Right.
But you know, their chemistry together and this is fucking incredible.
That's great. Yeah, you
So-
have two like just solid actors.
Yeah.
And it's like the placement of this segment coming after, like we're just like laughing about,
about
Stephen
Jordy,
King and Jordy Verrill.
Yeah.
Now it's like, nope.
No,
It's like, there's like, you know, little like one-liners and stuff Leslie Nielsen has, but
well,
like they're not
it's dark
jokes.
humor. But
Yeah,
Oh,
it's dark
yeah,
humor.
yeah.
But it's like there's like this isn't silly. There's no
This
goofing
is
around in this one. It's like, all right, buckle up.
this is a straight up classic cheating wife.
Yep.
Husband kills cheating wife and boyfriend or
yeah.
lover
The
or
old
whatever
classic twist
with the
Yeah.
classic twist at the end. We've seen it 100 times, but it always works.
It's
Even
always
in
like
Tales from
you
the
just-
Crypt, it always works.
You've always had the same characters, just change the setting.
Yep.
Change like the method of executions.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we got a beach. How are we going to use that?
Oh
The
my
beach-
God.
The beach, by the way, I guess I'll just bring it up now. Is Island Beach State Park
Really?
where we grew
Did you
up.
know that?
No,
Yeah.
from New Jersey.
Yeah, in New Jersey. There's one shot where you can see this building with the red top on it, and I believe that's the building like right in the middle when you go down that long stretch to get to the
Okay.
beach. That's like the middle center where there's like bathrooms and stuff.
Sure.
But the house isn't there because there are no houses there.
Mhm.
That house is a matte painting. So like Leslie Nielsen's house is not really there.
Huh.
So there's no comfort point.
There
Well,
is
comfort
no-
point's real.
Okay.
It's very
but Comfort
private.
Station isn't real.
Comfort Station is not real.
I want to go there and just start screaming because nobody can hear me.
Yeah. That's one of those things that's just so cool. Another thing that really hit for me too was like Creepshow is like one of my favorite movies of all time, and like the fact that like it was filmed so close and a beach that I went to like all the time. Was
Because
just
that was like
fucking
right
cool.
there compared to like
It
where
was
you were.
15 minutes from my house in Toms River.
So we could start a once summer comes around, we could start a Creepshow challenge. Creepshow movie dumpster challenge. Bury yourself in the
bury
sand.
yourself in the sand.
No, we're not doing that.
Or we'll
Not
go
getting
down
sued.
there. We'll go down there. We'll collect some sand and we'll sell it in our Etsy shop.
Well, there you
Yeah.
go. Okay, we say retrieve from a hole someone was buried in up to their neck.
I want to see if we can get a TV out there.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah, right. Yeah. Make sure it doesn't get too wet too quickly.
Yeah.
I feel like we've already said this twice, but like this is another one in this anthology that just has iconic shot after iconic
Yeah.
shot, man. Like,
We forgot Galen Ross is in this
Right.
as Rebecca, who's also famously in Day of the Dead.
right. But she's great. She's
Dawn of the
kind of a
Dead.
background
Is it Dawn of the
character
Dead? I'm
here.
sorry, Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I knew what you meant.
Close enough.
They're all the days.
Yeah.
The day,
yeah.
the dawn of the dawn of the bride of the son of the
The
dead.
Savini one.
The Savini.
Yeah, the one with from the guy who's involved with this film. So basically, like the setup to get to the main point is that Ted Danson is with this woman who is actually married to Leslie Nielsen, and he finds out, and he's like, "Fuck this." And basically, he's like, yeah, come with me. I'll take you to Becky. Come on. Yeah, if you don't come with me, something bad's going to happen to
Yeah,
her.
right at the gate, it's like he's already sinister. It's like plots in motion.
The back and forth, the way this is written is really great. Especially with like the air of mystery and like the sarcastic, saucy nature
Yeah.
of Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
Especially Ted Danson's like, well, we were working up to telling you. And he's like, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Get your foot out of the door, mister. I can bench
Yeah.
press 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Leslie Nielsen comes in and is basically like, I know you've been fucking my wife.
Yeah.
And something bad's going to happen to her if you don't come with me right now.
Also, going to check your TV and tell you should have got better picture.
I know. Well,
He's such a stickler.
it's relevant later, but yeah.
But that's such a great little thing. And I was going to bring that up too, where he's always like, oh, you got to check your pic. I love
Yeah.
TV.
And it's like every time I rewatch this,
Yeah.
I'm like remembering how much it's actually like sprinkled in there.
oh, yeah.
It's like his background must be electronics or some kind of like, who knows? But it's
maybe
like,
that's how
there's
he
a
made.
lot-
Maybe that's how he made his money.
Yeah.
Isn't like security cameras, CCTVs
Mhm.
and stuff like that. You know.
He's a part owner of Radio Shack, obviously.
The best in America, Radio Shack. Nobody compares to Radio Shack.
There you go.
But yeah.
The Wiz.
Yeah, exactly. He takes him down to the beach in his Jeep,
Mhm.
and there's just a hole there. And he's like, oh, yeah, Becky's over there.
Yeah. Burial mound of the Lady Fair. Could be.
So this guy, again, how the hell would he know that this guy's going to go take it this far? So Ted Danson, he starts running towards the hole. And of course, how the hell would he know? But Leslie Nielsen, he grabs his fucking pistol from down by his leg, and he's like, all right, yeah, you know that hole there? You're going to get in it.
Yeah.
Get in it. Get on your knees and start burying
Tell
yourself.
me you love me.
And I'm just going to say this. I feel like most people are smart enough not to make this argument, but I know someone watching this or the movie's like, huh, I could get out of that. Oh, yeah, go fucking try it and get back to me.
There you go.
Going
Let's
back
do
to
it.
The challenge.
The movie dumpster challenge. No, that's a great Patreon thing.
I mean, maybe
If you
don't
wanna
do
see
it right by the water.
Look, we're not going to go to the high tide line. We're going to go above that. But if you want to see Movie Dumpster do the Creepshow challenge, the Something Tide You Over challenge, let us know. We'll go do it.
Here's the answer. Not getting out of it. Get those crabs away from my fucking face. Yeah, because he holds a pistol to him. He's like, yeah, just pour the dirt on yourself.
Imagine, like, that is just so fucking scary in itself. Not only are you about to be buried, and you don't know if you're going to be buried alive or not, but then you have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And it's not standing in a hole, it's kneeling in a hole and then pulling the sand in around you.
It's
It's
a
fucking
nightmare.
scary.
Packing
It's
your
like
arms
digging
in.
your own grave
And
and
the-
just like pulling the sand in around you.
But and then the way Leslie Nielsen describes like being encased in it, he's like, yeah, I can't move, can you? It's like being in wet cement. Go ahead, try, Ted Danson.
And you
he
see him
can't-
just like
he
you see
can't
him
fucking
wiggle a little
move.
bit. His neck's like
Yeah, there's a deleted scene where he's like filling it up and like it's on his chest. He's like, hey, I can't breathe. He's like, yeah, you're gonna struggle breathing, but you'll be fine.
Oh my God.
it's like terrifying.
It's terrifying. And then when he lays down with him, because he ends up like leaving Ted Danson.
Well, he sets up Ted Danson's TV.
Well, not yet. He leaves him there. And he's like, and he leaves and he comes back. Ted Danson's like asleep. That's how long he was gone.
Oh my God. Well,
He's
that's
like-
when the crab's getting him.
Yeah, and the crab's like by his face. He's like, Richard! And he kicks and Leslie Nielsen comes. But Leslie Nielsen's driving on the beach with like, I don't even know
A
what,
mile
700
worth of
miles of worth of fucking
Cable.
Cable.
I guess he's got the
well, having
money.
his Radio Shack background.
Yeah.
Well, they, exactly.
The best in America, Radio Shack. Nobody compares to Radio Shack.
He just pulled it from the warehouse.
The
He
48
gets a better
ply.
picture.
He runs a television out there with a camera.
Coax.
And we had
It's
the
got a
coax
mild
cable.
coaxial
That's what
cable.
it was. I was
Yeah.
like, coax cable. Fucking father's electrician. I didn't know that. And he sets it up for him and he turns it on. And Galen Ross is down the beach and they're watching her as the tide's coming in.
That's pretty incredible that he's got the fucking live stream set up
Oh,
in
yeah.
19. What year did this fucking movie come out?
Pretty good picture too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty good picture. He would have been great on Twitch. Yeah.
She's already getting covered in water. She's already on her way
waves
out.
just coming up, blasting over her face.
Oh man, it is like painful to watch.
It's like just think about that for a second.
That's the whole scare. Like you can go through and watch this part and be like, whatever, okay, they're trapped in
Yeah.
the beach or whatever. But like when you really think about it and put yourself there, it's like,
No,
ugh,
Yeah, you're fucked.
fuck that.
And they both obviously are getting it pretty goddamn bad, but he gets it worse, man, because he's got to watch her literally die, or at least until the fucking TV
Short
shorts
circuits
out.
because
nothing he can do.
No, the tide's coming up. The way Leslie Nielsen describes this is fucking terrifying.
Oh, he's like leaned back.
He
Like,
like
oh, yeah.
he's like we could first he goes, I could bury you alive. He's like, we can cover you all up and make Harry all gone. And he like puts the sand like in Ted
yeah.
Danson's
Yeah.
It's like
face.
stuck in his ear.
And he's like, no, we can't have that. And he's like, this is what we're gonna do. The tide's coming in. So you can get out of this, Harry. You got a chance. The tide could set you free.
Yeah.
And he's like, when the water comes up, I forget exactly what he says, but it's something to the effect of like, the tide comes up and you gotta hold your breath, and when it comes out, you gotta let it out and snatch up that quick breath because
Yeah.
the tide's coming back up, and it's like it's just like he does that and all that shit. It's just
Yeah.
fucking
tries.
creepy, man. Sorry, I didn't do that monologue any justice.
No.
but it's fucking great.
But I love when he goes back to his house after he like leaves him there, and he's like watching it, and he's like, Harry, you gotta keep that breath. You gotta keep that
Yeah,
breath.
hold
He's
your
getting
breath,
Harry.
Yeah, with the fucking drink, watching it. Like,
Yeah.
a
Did you
sicko.
guys mention the help thing? He's out on Comfort Point and he's like, "You're never gonna get away with
Oh,
this, you son of
yeah.
a bitch!" And Ted Danson's are screaming help, and then Leslie Nielsen's like, "Help!" And
Yeah,
shoots the
nobody's
gun.
gonna-
Pointless, Harry.
Nobody's gonna
Yeah.
fucking hear you, Harry. And he shoots like next to him.
It's kind of great.
It's
It's
really
sadistic,
good.
man. And then you get the classic shot. I feel like I said that a bunch of times already. But
by the way, there's a VCR behind him, and he's like
recording it.
And he's like, look at that. He's like, oh, you can't see that. Anyway, it's on record, not play. I want to save this stuff for his home movies.
Just hanging out in his lounge in his bathrobe, watching these.
The water starts hitting Ted Danson, and eventually you just get this shot of like the back of his head, and it's just covering him entirely.
Yeah.
And I was reading that I guess Ted Danson, when they shot that, they had like some kind of like basically air that they had like under there that he would like remove right as it hit him.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, that must have been intense to film.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty scary. Also, I love the score here. This is where you get the ding, 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 like when he's driving back to the house to like watch them die.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's like the shots are lonely.
Yeah,
and it's like the music like helps
isolated. Yeah. And there's CC cameras on the beach too.
Yep. And that adds a whole nother like voyeuristic sort of angle to it.
The sadism layers of Leslie Nielsen in this are fucking deep.
And he's gonna rewatch it.
Yeah. So he goes back home and he's
cranking material.
He's fucking
far away from Frank Drebin now.
Oh yeah. He's
cigarette. Yes, I know.
Oh my god, he's got the full fucking condom on when he's watching that tape.
But some frog. Men's room.
That's my favorite skit he's ever
done. My god, wrongfully accused. We should do that on this show. I love that movie.
Bosom frog.
Got a meeting in men's room. Salty dog shrimp.
Right, yeah. Oh my god. Got to drop the coffee mug and the donut
and
the
salty
egg and the
dog in
water
this.
balloon.
So he makes himself a fucking highball and he turns on the TVs and he's got Galen Ross and he's got Ted Danson like on dual screens.
Yeah, well, right, yeah. That's when he's like, oh, hold your breath there, Teddy.
You better
even,
hold
like,
your breath there,
screens,
Harry.
It's like behind a painting.
Yeah, he like presses it and it like goes up.
It's like more weird electronic stuff he's got.
And but he has
Radio
cameras.
Shack.
Yeah, exactly. I'm telling you, man. He was involved. He was collecting those checks.
Nobody compares to Radio Shack.
He's got cameras all over the house and all over like by the beach. And then of course he has these two set up, one on Galen and one on Ted. And he's just watching them die. And he's like, oh shit, showtime.
Yeah.
You know? Right before Ted Danson finally goes under. Well, yeah. Finally, right before he goes under, Leslie Nielsen's like having second thoughts about it, and you could see it on his face. Like he's like, "I'm about to kill these people," and it's like really fucked up. And he has like this kind of moment of morality.
Did I go too far?
Yeah, and he's all like drinking his drink, and then Ted Danson's like, "Richard," and he goes, "Yeah, what?" And like he looks at the fucking TV. And he's like, "I'm gonna get you." You better hold your breath, Harry. You just better hold your breath.
And another classic shot now of Ted Danson's totally submerged head and just like him screaming. And it's like, oh man, it's brutal.
Like, with the light like coming up behind him and he's like totally submerged.
The bubbles.
Now.
Well, it's like that red light, which I guess is also supposed to represent like the blood coming off of him as he's dying.
Well, it's also like a comic book panel.
Oh, yeah. It's cool. It's
like
cool.
the urgency of him like about to die.
So then Frank Drebin, he thinks he won the day because he doesn't know he's in a comic. And he's going to bed.
Taking a quick shower first.
Oh, yeah, he's got to take a shower first. Yeah,
so, everybody forgets about the Creepshow Leslie Nielsen shower scene.
You don't see no man butt,
thanks
though.
for that.
I love how he's like, this is a weird thing to notice, but like his shower head's like too low and it doesn't hit him in the face. I guess he didn't want to get his hair wet, but
for all the money that he has, this is a tiny little shower.
Yeah.
But he's got
He's
got like a huge jade jacuzzi right next to him.
And then he takes like the fucking towel and like pretend the towel's like bunched up like this cup and just like does one of these on his chest and just puts the robe on. I'm like, I don't think you're dry there, my friend.
Yeah.
Well, this part we have to talk about like what's happening here. And
yes.
Like, and it's in the way of like visual storytelling and like what's happening here. It's like he's in the shower kind of by himself and kind of, doing his own thing. Meanwhile, his door opens.
Okay, before we get to that, I just want to note this real quick because he goes back to the beach. They die.
Oh,
and
you're right.
You're totally good. And everything short circuits. The cameras short circuit, the TVs, and the feed goes dead.
Right. And before he takes the shower.
The next day, he goes out and the tide has gone back out. There's like a bucket there that's half buried.
Yeah.
The TV is half buried.
He's like pulling the cord out of the sand.
Yeah.
Like, trees and
waiting,
that's
looking
how
for the
buried
camera.
everything is.
Yeah, but like you should see Ted Danson's head.
Yeah.
Right, but he finds like the ripped cord, and I guess he's like, "Oh well, they got pulled out to sea."
Yeah, but that's what all those things
took him.
That's what all those things are signifying. Like The bucket that he saw before is still there, like above sand level.
Yeah.
The TV you can see. I mean, it's buried, like, but you could see it there.
Yeah.
So like
everything else is there.
you should see
Where's Harry?
Ted's corpse.
Right,
there.
no, and he's definitely perplexed by it, but he doesn't overthink it. He's like, well, I need a shower. Fuck it.
Fuck it. He goes home, and then we see like footprints coming out of the ocean, like on the beach, which is really great.
Beautifully.
Oh,
of
it's
course.
fucking awesome.
That those blue and red lights and everything.
So he goes to take his shower, like you guys are saying. I want to know what other shit he has on tape. This voyeuristic fucking sadist has
Shelves of
all
tapes.
of these recorded tapes.
Yeah.
And at one point he's like watching a show and turns it off, and he's like getting like he's jonesing to fucking whack off or something because he's like, which one I'm gonna look through this. Yeah, and it's like what else is on those tapes? Like what other sick shit would this dude into that like he recorded and kept?
I think he was trading tapes with Richard Brake from Barbarian. They were trading tapes back and forth.
Yeah, it's August Underground's in there somewhere.
Oh, and the fun thing here is all of the like the shots.
Yeah.
It's like you don't see anything except for shadows.
Yeah.
You know, doors opening, you see like light spilling out of those.
He thinks he hears shit outside and
covers up the shower head, stop the dripping.
Yeah.
He's like listening for something.
Grabs the pistol.
Yeah.
So Becky and Harry have come back from the grave, but they don't pick up on camera. It's just mist.
Yeah.
It's like the fog. You know what I mean? And the doors open and you can't see them, but you hear their squishy fucking footsteps. It's creepy, man.
It's definitely the fog. And then it's like, if the fog was John Carpenter's, like EC, like, you know, nod. It's
which
like,
kind of, I would say, yeah.
Well,
Close
they're basically just zombies, but they're like, you know,
like seaweed
swamp
zombies?
sea zombies or some shit.
They're like ghosts.
Ocean zombies.
They're like ghost zombies.
Oh yeah, no, more like ghosts, I guess, actually.
But they're completely waterlogged and they're like
Swollen?
super wrinkly. The
Yeah.
lips are giant. Like
They're
if they,
gross.
Yeah, they're
Seaweed
really
all over
disgusting.
'em.
Yeah.
but it's cool, like how they're like coming into, you know, his place with the fog coming in.
Yeah.
All the wet sounds and sound effects. You see like the shadows.
Yeah.
So you see all these details and like you're not sure exactly what they look like
No, not yet.
until
Yeah, the reveal.
it
Oh, the
just shows
reveal.
them and it's like disgusting.
Oh, and they are fucking gross. And the greens and the yellows and the blues here are really vivid and awesome too. Especially like they waited for that, and when they come back from the sea, it's like a haunted sea tavern inside his fucking house now.
I love when he shoots them and it does nothing, but you have like this like dark like blue blood coming
Oh,
out. of
man.
it.
What
It
is
looks
that?
The
Yeah.
sea green blood that
Right in
comes
the
out.
forehead.
Yeah.
Brutal,
Yeah.
brutal. And then they, you know, they just want to return the favor.
Yeah.
They had a good time out there.
dug a hole for you, Richard.
And their voices here, same thing with the
Yeah.
modulation with
Yeah.
Nathan and Jordy.
Mhm.
It's like you've just weird sound effect going on with their voices. Just sounds wet. Like it sounds authentic
and
to
bubbly.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like just bubbly and gross
It's-
and weird.
It's fucking great.
I think it's a little too modulated personally. It just maybe that dial could have went back just 1 degree,
Yeah.
but it is very cool. They are a little harder to hear for me personally.
Sure, I could see that.
But the aesthetic is so cool. I'm like just leave it. Don't fuck with it because that gurgling is just so cool, man. And then that final shot, just very similar to the Father's Day one. The way it kind of phases into the comic,
Yeah.
with him in the hole, like I can hold my breath a long time, and then like the second the water hits him, he's like,
And it has that little like playful like
like yeah, okay, you can hold it, sure, Richard.
There is a scene that was cut out that they were gonna do where instead of like him slamming the door and them like appearing behind him in his room, Ted Danson's arm was going to go into the door and he was going to slam it on his arm and his arm was going to get cut off and then like crawl around the room with like stop motion.
Oh my god.
So Rick and Tom did like a stop motion hand that they didn't end up using, but there's like test footage of it you could see like on that disc. And it looked really cool. They ended up not using it, but then later they reused the stop motion hand for Evil Dead 2.
Oh,
Which I thought was pretty fucking cool.
Okay, I'll take it.
So at least it got repurposed into something
In a great
better.
movie.
It's just kind of
Plus,
neat.
I
Like,
can't imagine it here.
I
Is
don't. I think it would have been kind of jarring because
Yeah.
there is no other stop motion in it,
Yeah.
and like for that particular thing, I don't. It would have been weird. I guess that's
Yeah.
why they put the kibosh on it. But
yeah, I mean that's basically it. That segment kind of wraps up right there.
so, what do you think? How do we feel about this one?
I mean, I feel like I said in the beginning this is my favorite, but then I remembered the crates of things, so hold that thought. But this is easily my second favorite, and just like it's so different, and it's perfectly placed in the middle because it is the more serious out of all of these, I think, or the most serious, I think. Obviously still has those comic kind of etchings built into it, and like you guys have been saying, the classic EC comic kind of through line, and again, just. I can't imagine seeing this when it came out and seeing Leslie Nielsen like that when he had done a lot of those like comedy parts at the time, but just it holds up so good. And again, Ted Danson, I know what was the actress's name again that was also in this?
Galen Ross.
She's great too, but it's mostly Ted Danson and Leslie Nielsen that you see. It's again, I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but it's very memorable. Although I feel like this is one I hear less people talk about, maybe because it doesn't have a monster in it, but I mean, maybe that's just a me thing.
It's like the scorned lovers return.
Yeah. Even though it is that classic kind of throwback to these comics, it's not like one with, again, a monster or some kind of weird thing, like a zombie or something like that.
It is akin to the first story.
At the end, but
it is akin to the first story, though.
I guess it is, yeah. As I'm saying it, maybe it actually does have all those elements. I don't know. I feel like not a lot of people talk about this one, but again, maybe I'm just not reading the right places on the internet, but it's great. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to say that on every segment. It's great.
Well, I think it's like you don't have as much, sort of going on as this one as you did like Father's Day. And
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
correct.
But still, it's like the tension here. You cannot beat the tension in this episode.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
The back and forth between Ted and Leslie is just like incredible, and they're like bouncing off each other, and the dread that's built in. The minute that first wave rolls up on Ted Danson, and then just when his head goes under and he dies, it's this long drawn out thing. Then and it finally ends, or you think it's gonna end, but the nightmare continues for Leslie Nielsen, and it's just like all of that stuff. It's not necessarily gratuitous until like the very end, like with the shotgun or with the gun holes and stuff, gunshots. It's a really good ghost story and like revenge story.
Yeah.
And I love how they don't like rip him apart or emaciate him or everything. They just fucking bury him.
Yeah, they just do the same thing.
They just do the same thing, yeah.
And it's like, I love these like classic, like we were saying before, the EC Comics thing.
Yeah.
It's like the love triangles and the jilted lover.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what you have. And it's like, it's good. It's another good addition to those kind of stories. And it's elevated by Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah. I mean, think about this story and then like something like Strung Along from Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
Like that's a completely different thing. Same idea, but completely different.
Yeah. Two different sort of like tones.
Yeah.
Where it's like this one is played very much like a drama and really straightforward until we get to, like you said, it's like the zombies coming out of the beach and
it heavily relies on the drama though and the interaction just between two human beings, and it's fucking great. And then the makeup, the end part and the colors in the end, I know I've been saying that a lot, but like when Leslie first sees them and gets scared, and again
we get another screen,
that shot. One in particular I love because it's like green and like there's another light behind it coming through that's green, and then he's all, it just looks so cool. It's great.
Yeah, this is a good solid segment.
Y'all have a quarter for the Coke machine? This is my dream.
Yeah.
Okay, to find a fucking dusty old crate full of God knows what under the stairwell in some laboratory in an old college.
Right.
I love it.
And
from Antarctica.
Yeah, from Antarctica.
Right.
We talked about this on the Panic Room episode, and like how I'd love to find like something like behind a brick or like behind a wall or even Ghoulies 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Little
God.
secrets forgotten by time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As simple as a comic or as elaborate as a monkey creature.
Well, I was going to say, or a Harry Potter. I know Dobby was looking for him under those stairs.
This is
too.
also true. This is my favorite segment.
Yeah, I just
Mine
said
too.
in the last one at the end there, if you heard a minute ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the best one. This is the one I saw when I was way too young, when I wasn't really watching these kind of movies, and it like scared the shit out of me for like a decade. Just because this monster is this fluffy, if you will.
It's still scary.
It's terrifying, man. And just the concept is so good. Just like you just said, you find something under the stair. This poor janitor, by the way, thinks he found fucking gold, man. He thought he's
a couple
gonna
of
be set for
emeralds in
life.
there. Yeah.
Even if it's a couple of stones that fall to dust right as I open it.
I love how this one is like a creature feature with like this awesome. Again, it's kind of like a mix of revenge story.
There's a lot going on.
There's a
here.
lot going on in this one, and the medley that's cooking in here is fucking beautiful.
And the fun thing too is like out of all these segments we have in Creepshow, I feel like this is the one closest that feels like a full length.
I agree, and
It's
it
like
could
a very,
easily
very
be one.
short, little movie.
Yeah, 100%. I think this one and Something Tied You Over are the longest segments in the movie.
Yeah, they definitely feel like it for sure.
So a janitor finds a crate, the titular crate, underneath a stairwell because he lost his last quarter for the Coke machine. He would have let it go, but it was his last quarter for the Coke machine. And we get Hal Holbrook in this, and we get Fritz Weaver, R.I.P. I fucking love Fritz Weaver. We've talked about him before in the Tales from the Dark Side episode, Inside the Closet,
which
we will talk about
with Lizzie.
With Lizzie, I have a theory about that. We'll get to about how that ends up that way. He's also in Comet Watch too, and Tales from the Dark Side, which you can find on Talks from the Dark Side soon.
And lest we forget everyone's favorite Billy.
Oh,
Adrienne Barbeau.
Man, she is so fucking amazing in this.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we met her?
Oh yeah.
She was one of the sweetest people I've ever met in my life. She did an intro for the show, which we may or may not have put at the beginning of this. She was just totally into it. I remember her specifically telling me that she loved playing Billy because it was completely opposite of how she is in real life.
Oh, thank God.
So it was like,
Can you imagine if that's how she actually was?
yeah, what do you want? Fucking Henry, you know?
Oh God, this drunk asshole that no one wants to be around.
Oh God, she is fucking terrible. Oh my God. But yeah, she loved playing it because it was,
so different.
It was so different. So it was kind of fun for her. So Fritz Weaver is professor of biology in this or animals.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Some shit. And
zoology. Maybe.
Zoology.
Yeah.
There you go. And then Hal Holbrook also works at the college. Adrienne Barbeau is Hal Holbrook's wife, overbearing wife, terrible, awful wife.
Which I was thinking about that because this guy is a bit of a pushover, but generally speaking, he doesn't fit like the stereotype as much as you would think.
Yeah, it's like both the characters are like kind of exaggerated.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the sense like the guy is definitely a pushover. Don't get me wrong, but he's not to the extent as you would see in a lot of things. Like generally speaking, he's just a dude and she's like a pain in the neck and he just kind of deals with it.
It's a little more extreme than that.
That's what I'm saying though. I don't know. I was just thinking about that while watching this again. I was like, man, like he definitely like is getting stepped on like a fucking like floor mat, but he's also not totally a floor mat. It was like he's somewhere in the middle there, but she's so controlling.
Yeah.
It's just like she supersedes all that bullshit.
Well, he is like this intellectual.
If that makes any sense.
He's like this intellectual, soft-spoken dude who just like wants to play chess with Fritz Weaver, like once a week. And Billy's just this fucking completely obnoxious drunk,
over the top,
like just belittling
like
him.
A bully.
Yeah, she basically bullies Hal Holbrook throughout the whole fucking thing. And then there's a monster in a crate that we'll get to in a second. So,
but who's the real monster?
Well,
who's the real monster?
Exactly. Is it Frankenstein or the monster?
So again, this is a layered one, so bear with us here. They're all at a party together. I guess it's like Fritz Weaver's house. It's supposed to be, or like outside the college, rather.
Which I just want to say, on one hand, even though I still think she's incredibly annoying, and that's the point, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I'd want to be hanging out with these like upper class kind of fucks that are just like tooting each other's horns. I was like, she's still an asshole, but like maybe she shouldn't be hanging out with this crowd to begin with.
I don't know. She's the only one making a fucking scene.
Oh,
and everybody
I know.
else is just kind of like, yeah.
People walking in. Oh, you need a drink. You need a fucking drink.
Honey, these people are dry. Take care of them. Call me Billy. Everybody does.
You can tell everyone's just like so uncomfortable, and nobody's saying it. She's just
you hear people going, "Who invited her? Who keeps inviting her?"
Yeah, well, people are just dealing with it.
Yeah,
it's pretty awful. Hal Holbrook has a fucking daydream where he blows her brains out.
It's great.
But hell of a shot.
This guy has
That's
had
clapping
enough,
and shit.
man. This is like, this guy's living these dreams out in his mind for years because he just can't say, he can't deliver the divorce papers, just putting up with it.
I just don't know how you fucking end up like that. It's just like insane to me.
Different era, man. People just did things. I don't know.
I guess, dude. But like,
shotgun wedding. You think her father had the shotgun to his back?
I think
you're
she had
marrying
it.
Billy.
I think
or
she had the shotgun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting married.
Henry. God, she's terrible.
I told you to tell the guy to pull a car around 30 minutes ago. You're so
the
useless.
kid in a
monkey
monkey
suit.
suit.
Oh my God, it's
just
funny.
an asshole to everybody.
Before we go,
I was gonna say, meanwhile,
before we
Fritz
get-
Weaver and the janitor are opening this fucking.
well,
crate.
before we get to that, I wanted to mention one particular part because
Okay,
it always was weird to me because her mouth never matched the word that comes out. of it.
Okay.
She's talking to these two women and she's like, so then I tells them, you just got to get laid or whatever. And they're just like, oh, Jesus Christ. She's like, oh, and then she says something.
Wherever that uppity crotch is.
Whoever that etiquette crotch is.
That's it.
And the fucking old lady's like, oh my God. She walks away from her.
But
the
that's
deleted-
not the actual line.
The deleted scene. Are we gonna get demonetized for this?
Yeah, I wouldn't say
If
it.
you say crotch,
Yeah.
Oh.
well,
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Well,
it.
yeah,
I'm
all right,
just
let me
saying.
say it. So the
You can't
Just say
You
C
can't
next
say
to crotch.
so the deleted scene of this particular of this segment is her saying the C word.
Yeah.
Which again,
And I was like,
is
I
ridiculous.
knew
that we
she said it.
can't say that on YouTube for some reason. I guess if we were from the UK, we could get away with it. But yeah,
Whatever.
it's weird edit. Maybe that was something like, George, this is fine, except for this one line's gonna get you X-rated. Well, okay, I guess we'll redub it.
I mean, it's
Okay.
pretty intense too, especially like I think it's a little more intense than they anticipated for like or that they wanted to go for this type of movie.
It's definitely more shock value for her to
Yeah.
freak out these like normies, I guess, if you will.
So Fritz is picking up these young co-eds.
Oh my God.
He's like, "Oh, did you just start here today? Oh,
It's
that's
like
great.
70.
You wanna come
Yeah.
by later?
Hey, girls.
How you
Going to a
doing?
party?
How you doing? I'm Fritz Weaver." And Hal Holbrook's like, I guess you won't be coming over for chess later, huh? And he's like, meanwhile,
So
this maid,
it's just like a regular thing for him.
it's just like a
That's what he
regular
does.
thing. So this maid comes up and she's like, oh, I got a call for you. Turns out it's the janitor.
Right.
And he's like, Mr. Dexter, I found something underneath the stairwell, this giant crate. He's like, well, Jesus, what is it? Why are you bothering me? Why don't you fucking ask Bobby? He's there. He's like, this is a little bit more important, I think. It's a big crate that says Arctic Expedition 1834 on it. And he's like, June 19th, 1834. Is that a year or something?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
June. No, it's not a date.
It's like Isaac Hayes and
Talking about-
fucking
Sorry, that
Uncle
was
Sam.
That was a deep Goonies reference.
Oh, okay. I see. Went over my goddamn head.
Yeah.
I'm about to mention
I
Uncle
missed it.
Sam with the 911 with him spelling it out.
No, with your high score, whatever that game
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
Mouth says. So he tells him about the crate. It's an Arctic expedition addressed to Julia Carpenter.
Which there's a little throwback to John Carpenter, The Thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Antarctica.
So, oh my God, you think Fluffy, like Outpost 31 was like captured Fluffy and sent it back? Maybe.
It's the
Maybe.
real Area 51.
Yeah.
That's where all the weird shit actually lands. That's
Yeah.
why Mulder and them were looking for that fucking spaceship up there in the X-Files movie.
It's also kind of like a fun thing. I'm sure that it was put in there like a Lovecraft reference.
Little
too.
Easter egg,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's kind of cool.
Again, the guy thinks he's gonna find gold or something in there. He's like, I can't wait to open it.
And also, it's like where it was. This always got me. Is like, it's not that hidden.
I mean, it's pretty hidden though. Like,
Yeah.
like
It definitely
I
is
mean, it's
kind of
under
like,
it's in like a basement level.
it's in the basement.
Yeah.
It's by the laboratory next to like the janitor's closet.
Yeah.
And it's like gated off.
under stairs.
yeah.
In the back.
Yeah.
In the dark.
Okay.
So it's like one of those things like, why would you ever go under there?
right.
Okay.
And it feels like
They
those.
don't pay him enough to clean under
You
there.
don't pay enough to give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, the old crate.
Yeah,
fuck
it's very EC Comics-esque. I always think of, Return of the Living Dead is also kind of, I feel like pulls a lot of inspiration from those comics too, because it's like also like, why is this random zombie in this fucking warehouse? Well, it got sent here by mistake and no one ever really followed up. It's
So
like,
we just put it in storage.
yeah, I feel like it's something like that. It's like, oh, this got here 80 years ago and we just
Yeah.
left it there
Well,
50
yeah,
years ago.
I think that's what it was. Like
Yeah.
it was like mix up or somebody sent it and like, it's like some relic shit. Like
Yeah.
John Whitney never showed up to fucking claim his
Exactly.
package. So they just stuck it under the fucking thing.
Somebody
like,
else's problem.
Like, didn't they
Somebody
hear?
quit.
didn't they hear it in there like before?
Well, it's
Right?
nailed in
Just
there
been, like
good.
hibernating for like 100 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's a fucking 100 years, isn't it? When he says it.
Yeah.
It's
In
gotta be,
1982,
yeah.
it was 100
Yeah.
years.
But yeah, they start pulling those nails out. And the janitor even mentions, I heard something shift in there.
Oh, we lifted it up. They break the locks off it.
Yeah.
And I just love the scene when they open it too, because like the sound design and like how they pop it open and shit.
And you get a lot of those amazing backlit shots
Yeah.
with the graphics behind them and everything.
It's very well in a second because because dude reaches he's like what's in there? It looks like a couple of jewels, something shiny. And he goes to stick his hand in it, and at that last second, Prince Weaver realizes that it's like an animal in there, and he's like, no.
Yeah, there's like a raccoon sound or some kind of
Dude,
Yeah.
the shot of this fucking whatever it is though of the eyes with the Morticia effect with the
Yeah.
light on the eyes.
Well, we're still going to like the buildup of like
Oh yeah.
But the it's like a monkey sound.
Yeah.
It's like
and it's like you don't want him to like stick his hand in there.
no,
Oh, yeah.
But
and
you
like
kind of do.
yeah, but
Yeah.
but they're looking in there and they're trying to see, and it's like, well, Jesus, what's in this fucking
Yeah.
box, man?
It's like taking its time and
Yeah.
like kind of just trying to play mind games with you,
Yeah.
freak you out of like
Yeah.
what's in here. It's like a little like a monkey, a raccoon.
And it's like whatever's in there should be fucking dead.
Yeah.
Like, don't put your hand in
Yeah.
there.
Dude, I think this thing's out of like primal rage, man.
He
Like
does look like Blizzard.
Yeah, like mini Blizzard, man. But you are right, Chris, though. It's right as he gets attacked, you see the eyes for like a second.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it's like, oh shit.
Yeah,
And then it
right.
like grabs him. And it's like, oh no.
they're trying to pull him out, and the whole box like goes over, and it's so
Oh.
great because Fritz like freaks out and like steps back,
Good
and the
idea,
janitor's
man.
just like hanging there in the
Help.
box, and he looks up, he's like, help me, and just fucking Fluffy's hand comes down and
This is
grabs
the
him by the
best part,
face
yeah.
and pulls him up.
Right over the face.
Yes, it pulls him
Yeah.
up into the crate, and it's just like a fucking fountain of
Oh,
blood
yeah,
that
the
comes out.
shower.
And like you don't see the entire thing.
No,
You're only getting like an arm, a hand, and like
the eyes,
claws.
yeah.
Enough to know it's dangerous.
But like he pulls this guy, it like pulls this guy into the fucking box
Mhm.
and like eats him. Where's it
Yeah.
all going?
Yeah. Well, he's eating a lot of it, or he's got some bones in there. But I love how Fritz Weaver, he runs upstairs, panic, because of course.
Yeah.
And he runs into this fucking student.
Charlie.
And this guy's like, yeah, monster box. Yeah, okay, Professor. Yeah, I'll see you later.
Fritz is so great though, because like the way that he does his manic stuff,
yeah.
like his scared
Very
panic
David
stuff.
Gale-esque.
Stole my joke.
What am I pulling this out of your guys'
Well,
mouths?
No. Like it's very different than David Gale, but
I guess, okay, I'll say that they nail that manic.
yes, but in different
acting.
ways.
Yeah,
like Fritz has this great terrified acting
Mm.
where he's like incomprehensible at one
Okay,
point,
yeah.
and just the looks on his face and stuff. Just to your David Gale point, like I always wanted a Fritz Weaver David Gale movie where they acted it together. Never happened though.
Sinjanor 3.
Oh my
Oh
god!
my
fucking sign me
God.
up, dude. Need some of that fucking reagent. Let's make it
Yeah,
happen.
exactly.
But while he's doing all that, Fluffy, like, you don't
I love that
see
he's
it.
called Fluffy, by the way.
Well, it's like affectionately
No,
called
I
that,
know,
like,
I
yeah,
know.
behind the scenes. But like it takes the crate off the desk and pushes it back underneath the
Yeah.
fucking stairs.
It's like I live here.
Yeah, he's like, because like it's been living there for 100 years. Like that's where it feels safe, I guess. They even like mentioned that.
Well, it's a good trap spot. You
Yeah.
know, it's like you lure its prey there. It's a good kill zone.
But like, is Charlie a dick, or does he know like Dex is like socially fucked up? Like, because he's like, well, what did you do? What's going on downstairs? Something's off with this guy, because he's like, why don't I just go check it out and see what the
Yeah.
deal is?
I'm gonna say Charlie probably actually is doing what makes the most sense in that scenario from probably information he has that we don't. But he also doesn't know there's a fucking vicious monster in a crate right there.
There's
So
no,
can you blame him?
like, they go downstairs, and again, there's no music in this point, and
No.
it's just like this slow build of them like going into the room, and he sees all the blood, and Fritz Weaver comes out and goes, Charlie, no, don't go in. And he's like, no, don't you see? Look at the thing. And he's like, where is it? And he's like, what do you mean? Where's what?
Yeah,
and he's
it
like,
could be anywhere.
the box.
Yeah.
And he's like looking around. He's like
What
going
box?
around.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, but he's like looking for the fucking monster, and he's like,
Well,
You know,
he
it's
also just sees all the
creepy.
blood, and he just is assuming, at least based on what he says, is maybe this Fritz Weaver just killed somebody. He's like, all
well,
right,
yeah,
it's
you
a monster.
think I did this? And they look around and like you see like the drag marks and all the blood on the floor, and it pushed underneath the
goes
thing.
under the stairs.
Yeah, and he's like, went back under the stairs. He's like, what went under the
Talking
stairs?
about? Yeah.
The tension here is just so fucking good. Charlie goes under and like knocks out the flashlight, and he's like looking at the crate. He like sees the shoe, and he's like, this fucking thing went through a hay baler. He's like, what the fuck
It's all
happened?
mangled.
Yeah.
I love how Fluffy.
Like, I gotta measure the bite radius,
Dude,
like fucking Hooper.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Fucking. I love how Fluffy fakes him out though. Is like not in the crate. He's just hiding in the other corner.
It's such a great
Bob
scene.
rushes this
Well,
guy.
especially for the audience, because you think it's gonna jump out of the box, and it's like behind him, and there's like a shadow. This guy gets fucked.
Dude, he gets
up.
it the worst in the whole movie. He might get it worse than Ted Danson.
Dude, he first like Fluffy like rips his shoulder off and he falls backwards.
And now we're seeing like full movement.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
seeing like
Yeah.
all of Fluffy and like how big this thing is.
This guy's trying to like avoid it and get away from it. And he's like, nope.
No,
Not
and
happening.
Fritz Reaver's like, oh, and it like turns towards Fritz Reaver, and Charlie like hits it over
With
the
a
head with
wrench.
a wrench, like a monkey wrench. This thing grabs this guy and bites him in the neck, and it's probably one of my favorite monster memes of
Yeah.
all time.
Dude, it's
because
brutal.
he
It's
like
a bear.
bites him in the neck, and there's just like this jagged piece just taken out of
it's
his
like
fucking
a
neck.
cartoon shaped bite.
Yeah. That coupled with him taking his head, smashing it against a wall, and then scratching down his face all in one fell
Yeah.
swoop.
This guy gets it bad.
I fucking love it so much.
Yeah.
I have to just imagine that this is something that Savini actually probably saw in the war. Someone getting killed by an animal.
By
like,
a monster?
Straight, well, maybe like a bear or something, or
There's,
cougar.
in a Fangoria
Seriously,
episode
though. Yeah,
issue,
yeah.
he said he encountered a like exactly a fluffy kind of creature.
Yeah,
college.
but don't read too much into it. Yeah. Right before he met the Sasquatch
It's actually
somewhere
it's
in
actually a true
Arizona.
story.
Okay.
It's a biography.
All right.
The horrors of
It,
war.
it lines up, Chris. It does line up on
No,
this
it
show.
doesn't.
But you're right. It is a brutal ass kill, and you don't even though this movie's kind of hasn't pulled any punches yet.
Yeah.
When you see that, you're like, oh damn, they went for
I
it.
Yeah,
think
it's over the top.
I think it's so shocking because you haven't seen anything like that yet in
Yeah,
the film. Everything's been scary in a different way. And it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
holy shit, this fucking thing's eating this guy.
The claw across the face, that just to finish him off.
Oh,
Is just,
yeah,
like,
it's
brutal.
so good,
It's
man.
awesome.
So Fritz Weaver freaks the fuck out and runs to Hal Holbrook's house. Billy's out for the night.
She's like, don't let the chess game take all night. He better be gone when I get back from dancing.
And wash the fucking dishes and wipe the stove.
Yeah, she's like
Enjoy
every,
your chess.
every 2 seconds.
Ugh.
It's
Oh
something.
my God.
Wash the dishes. Don't leave them soaking.
He has another daydream where he like chokes her with his tie.
Yeah.
Chokes her out. Yes, Billy. Yes, Billy.
You're such a little kid.
You're such a little
Oh
kid.
my
What would you
God.
do without me, Henry? Fritz goes there. He's freaking out. He
Yeah.
downs a fucking scotch and he's like, he's telling him all about it.
Yeah.
And the whole time Hal's like, monster, you say? 8 people, you say? In the college, you say? With nobody around? Okay. So he like drugs Fritz Weaver, so he like goes to sleep with like sleeping pills. And he's already concocting this plan. He writes this fucking letter to Billy. He's like, dear Billy, Dex did something terrible to this girl.
Medico-ed.
Medico.
She's hurt real bad.
She's hurt real bad.
What is this story?
Well, the best is fucking Adrienne Barbeau reading it, like drunk as shit already. She's
Yeah.
drinking the cup. She's like,
She's drinking like milk and pours a bunch of bourbon into it.
which she then carries with her to the college.
She brings her whole glass of milk bourbon with her, driving, and then into the college. So she goes there because Henry tells her to go there to help get this girl out.
Yeah. Out of the crawl space because you could get her out of there. I know you could,
but
Billy.
but it's so great because he knows what's in there. And he cleans
Dude,
everything
he's
up. so-
methodical. He's like
clean-
Dexter, Walter White.
Yeah, he cleans everything up so there's no blood on anything and like and makes it like spick and span. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, she's underneath the stairwell. You got to go. Only you can get her
Go
out,
ahead,
Billy."
Go look.
He's fucking trying to stop from laughing because she's like, "Oh my God, Henry, what did he do to her?" And he's
Yeah.
like,
Because she's all there for like the drama of like what happened
yeah.
with him.
"Yeah."
Like, oh, what did he do again? Can't keep it in his pants.
And he knew that she could not resist that.
Yeah.
So-
He knows his wife.
Yeah, just there for the drama and to like make fun of someone.
Yeah.
But I love how it doesn't work right away. Like he like pushes her under there. He's like, get back there,
Oh,
get back there. And
he's-
she's like, what the fuck?
He like pushes her and he's like slamming her against the crate. He's like, wake up. And it doesn't come out.
Yeah.
And I love it because you're fully expecting her to just get taken in. And she's like, what is this, the Friday night fight, Henry? She's like, I'll show you some real punching.
Yeah.
And she just continues to berate this guy. And and I love the fact that her fucking annoying voice gets this thing to pop out.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
great.
That's what does it.
That's what does it. Yeah.
Just an annoying voice.
Because she just keeps going on.
I do love like the color drain out of Hal Hellbrook's fucking face though when he realizes it's not gonna kill her like at first.
Yeah.
And he's like,
I'm stuck with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck.
What did I do?
Yeah.
That's the scariest part of the episode.
Yeah.
But then her scream that awakens the beast, if you will, and it jumps out, and again we get that amazing background behind it as
so
it
good.
screams.
Just tell it to call you Billy.
As
It's
it's
like the best
The
line.
best line ever.
Yeah. That's another one I always quote.
So she gets, taken into the crate and fucking eaten. And Hal Holbrook's like sick. He like runs upstairs and like throws up.
Yeah. As you do.
And again, this pitch perfect tension filled scene where he gets like brand new master locks, and he's like, okay, that was the hardest part, right? To fucking get Billy down there and get her. Now she's dead. She's eaten. He's got to lock up the crate and get rid of this fucking monster. So he's like very gingerly like reaching over and like picking up the chain, and like you hear the
Try
clink.
not to wake it up.
Try not to clink,
Yeah.
and he like puts the lock in, and he just as he gets the lock around the second chain, the fucking thing pushes open, and like it's just like held on by the open lock. It's terrifying.
Can you imagine that? This
No.
thing you just watched, eat three people.
And your wife,
Yeah.
well, your ex-wife,
Well, the pisser
well,
is
two
Well-
humans and Billy.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
Yeah. But the pisser is then he basically Jumanjis this fucking thing, just like throws it into the water.
He
and he's
throws
like,
it in the same canyon that they threw Munchie
Yeah,
down.
well, yeah, exactly. It's the one Homer dumped all that fucking pig feces in and contaminated Springfield. He's like, oh yeah, it's 90 feet underwater, and it's like, okay, pal, okay,
Well, he's telling Fritz Weaver this.
right.
And he's like, it was hellishly perfect, Fritz. Like I fucking killed my wife. I put her in took the box. I fucking threw it in the thing. It was done.
Well, Fritz Weaver, he's all like stoic. He's like, what if I woke up early and called the police? He's like, yeah, you didn't.
Well, you
like
didn't. And he's like, what if it gets out? And he's like, it's not gonna get out, Fritz. I threw it down a fucking hole. And he's like, well, now we can play chess every week.
and then you hear off the beach or what have you, those drums start beating.
A game with drums.
Yeah.
And Fluffy just explodes out of the box. And it ends like with it underwater.
It's kind of a perfect ending.
And it's like even creepy there. It's like this thing's underwater, but it's still like,
And it's like,
still see its eyes.
like you could totally do a sequel to The Crate.
Oh, yeah.
Like in the Creepshow series that's on right now. The
like a follow-up. Yeah,
that would be
yeah.
kind of cool.
Mhm.
Maybe-
Maybe. We gotta-
Chris isn't sure about that one.
Let us write it. Bring us on.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
But I do like that it is kind of the ambiguous ending, because you do get that occasionally in an anthology series, like the new Guillermo del Toro series.
Yeah.
I won't totally spoil it, but there's one that features Peter Weller and Eric Andre. The end of that has one of those where
The viewing.
Yes,
Yeah.
where it ends, where you're
Gotta
like,
see
oh,
that
they
still.
could do more with this if they wanted to, but it's kind of cool that it ends the way. I don't want to spoil it because you haven't seen it, but
Yeah.
it
should
sounds
be
like
a
Chris
full length.
has.
It should
Yeah,
definitely be a full. It's the best.
Oh yeah,
It's
so good.
I gotta
it
see
ends
it.
with basically a creature of some kind, without spoiling it, that you're like, oh,
think
I
you
could
just
see
did
what
spoil it.
happens next. Yeah. Well, no, seriously though. Yeah. Well, okay, Jesus. When you're editing this, just forget that.
That guy dies, but let's not spoil it.
Well, I didn't go that far. I didn't go that far. Anyway, I like that. I like that is part of this. That
Yeah.
one of these you don't get a definitive ending,
Yeah,
and you can
right.
sit there and be like, huh, what the hell happened
Yeah.
next?
Well,
It's a-
yeah.
There's a loose end.
It's
that you-
open-ended.
Yeah.
So I have a theory here, which connects it to Inside the Closet.
Okay.
At some point, Fritz Weaver fucked this monkey, and it gave birth like in the corner. Fritz
can
Weaver
see it.
goes back underneath the thing just to check
Yeah.
that Hal was telling the truth, and he finds Lizzie under
Yeah.
there.
There's
And
a
he-
little hole in the back
and
of the crate.
and he,
I think nobody-
and he takes it home with him.
What is this thing, like a rabbit? It just quickly fires these things out after
Yeah.
a couple hours?
Who knows, man? The thing's been alive for 100 years.
I mean, here's my question. Does he have like a glory hole he like drilled into the
Yeah,
side?
there's a little hole in the back of the crate.
It was for science.
okay.
It was for science.
All right, yeah.
It was the
artificial insemination.
Wow. He had to do it himself because it's got to be his kid. So Lizzie's his daughter that, of course, he keeps in that room and eats co-eds.
Right. Dobby delivered it,
Yes,
obviously.
correct. Dobby, the fucking house elf, is now the house midwife.
Right. Yeah. For Lizzie, clearly.
Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, this is my favorite. It's always been my favorite.
Yeah, this is the best one. There's a lot of meat here. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And also it's longer than the rest of these. It's
Yeah.
like there's so much happening.
There's great parallel stories running in here. And it's just like told really well and it's paced really well. I love the Hal Holbrook and Adrienne Barbeau dynamic and how that's a whole story and it's a whole horror story in itself. And then on the flip side of that coin or parallel to that, you have this Fritz Weaver arc where, he watched one of his students and one of his friends get eaten by a fucking monkey creature, which is probably blowing his mind because he's never seen anything like it in the zoological record before.
That's a good point too. Yeah.
Well, that's why he artificially inseminates it.
Well, you got to
makes
the
a baby
species going.
No, right. Propagating the species. No, but, I don't know when this segment was shot, like in the sequence of things, but this really encapsulates everything that they were trying to do with this movie. And it hits all of the comic booky stuff while mixing really good drama and a really good creature feature together. It's my favorite. And it's just got everything I want in something like this. It's one of the best anthology, not only one of the best shorts, but like one of the best pieces of anthology film like ever.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's just really, really good. And you see it again in Tales from the Dark Side with like Inside the Closet or even Halloween Candy, like those types of movies. Like Tom clearly loved this segment too. And like you see all of that kind of bleed out into Tales from the Dark Side. Specifically, well, I guess it was because it was supposed to be Creepshow the series, but it's just something I noticed
see where
watching
it's
it.
like the launching off point for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean Fritz is even in that episode, so that's why I was like, all right, that's okay.
But yeah, it's awesome. I'd even say it's perfect.
I would say it's perfect.
Yeah, it slows down a little bit in the middle, but it's like you have a lot going on with like tension with the drama. Even the setting of like Amberson Hall, is like isolated. There's nobody else there.
Oh,
it's like you're just seeing who's involved in this whole story.
That time of year, nobody's there.
Yeah.
So it's those few weeks.
Yeah, it's not this busy college where there's people like passing people in the hall. It's like there's nobody there.
It's those few weeks between summer and like the fall semester where like nobody's there.
Yeah.
So he
so it
lucked
just
out.
adds to like the atmosphere here and like what's going on.
Yeah, and the isolation and scariness of it all. Nobody's there to hear you scream. I mean, literally.
Yeah, exactly.
And
it does a good way of like building up the tension with like the mystery of what's in the box.
Yeah.
And like showing you a little bit of like little nibbles at a time.
Yeah.
It's like first here's a hand, here's some eyes. And then when you have like the big reveal and it's shown, it's terrifying.
Yeah, it's a great build up. That first scene where you see its whole mouth and face, just that quick flash when it like comes up when it's eating the janitor and like hits Fritz Weaver off of him.
Yeah.
And the fucking thing, the lid closes back with the chains swinging and shit. It's like,
talk about a fucking boo box.
It's fucking great, man. So yeah, Hal cleaned that up very nicely.
It's a shame that it didn't stay clean for very long though, Joe, because we got a roach infestation, as you may see here.
No,
now we're enroaching into the next segment.
They're creeping up on you.
Yeah. Thank God Howie. Okay. This is Howie Mandel's fucking nightmare. I mean, it's probably just about anybody's, let's be fair, but especially like a neat freak, which is the focus of this story. A neat freak who, I mean, he's a major asshole, so you don't really feel bad about it. Yeah.
He is like the epitome of piece of shit. Like E.G. Marshall is absolutely fantastic in this role as Upton Pratt. You may recognize him as Beverly D'Angelo's father in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yes.
Clark, the little lights aren't twinkling. I know, Art, and thanks for noticing.
Yeah. He's great. He just has that look, man. He's basically he has like that bathrobe on, but just those eyebrows, man, they just jump out of you.
It's like an Ebenezer Scrooge sort of thing going on.
Yeah, it's like that's exactly what it is. It's like the contemporary Ebenezer Scrooge. His fucking hair's all crazy.
So all the roaches are like just little tiny Tims, and people asking for raises.
They got crutches.
Yeah, they're looking for the raspberry dressing. That's why they're actually there.
So yeah, Upton Pratt's a fucking executive piece of trash who's a complete germaphobe, and he's got bugs in his apartment.
Well, he
said $3,200 a month penthouse suite has bugs in it.
I mean, he says bugs. He keeps saying bugs. He says it many, many times, but they're just fucking cockroaches. Granted, that's a big effing deal. Don't get me wrong, but there's no centipedes. I don't see any silverfishes.
Oh well, no, but
floating around here.
But he says roaches and stuff. He says
general bugs.
General bugs.
I got to pick on him a little because he's an asshole. I just got to nitpick the man. That's all.
I love
the character.
They're creeping up on you because he considers everybody a fucking bug.
Well, that's the allegory.
The scrape them off and step on them kind of things for people that he employs, and he's like a cutthroat businessman. Even more so than that, it all comes out in the Wash Guide.
That's what I was thinking of, man.
Mr. Gropa has got nothing on Upton Pratt.
He really doesn't. This is like this guy's top of the food chain.
Oh my god!
Another EC comic staple, rich white man that's got too much money and not enough time on his hands, or too much time on his hands, I should say. That's making everybody else's life horrible.
Yeah. So I guess he just operates directly out of this penthouse, like forever. Like he's literally built himself this germ-proof, bug-proof, encapsulated living space.
And this is like, I have to say it here, it's like this is my favorite part of this segment.
Yeah.
It's like the setting and like the just where it takes place.
Yeah.
It's very sterile, there's like, it's just really some weird choices with like the set decoration and everything. And it's like almost to a point, it's like you can't tell what year it is.
No, you can't. And the other thing is like, it wasn't even supposed to look like this.
Yeah.
It was way more elaborate.
They were gonna have like a big carpeted like penthouse and everything.
Yeah, you were saying that, but they decided, just for the budgetary reasons, make everything white and like sterile. Yeah. And I think
mostly it was because of the roaches, because they were gonna have all the roaches.
They'd get lost.
Like the apartment. Yeah, it's like they can't have rugs and roaches together. It's like, are you insane?
Well, that too. It's also a thing of like they show up a lot better. I think. I think the choice that they made to do it all white like that is the stark whiteness really helps sell it all.
Yeah.
They built the set in a gymnasium, and the roach wranglers said they got all the cockroaches when they shot everything and picked them up, but they didn't, because they shot other sequences. Like, I think Jordy Verrill was shot after this. Okay. So, like, there's, like, fucking roaches running around on the Jordy Verrill set.
God. Missed a couple.
Yeah.
And, this is actually, so the roaches were actually the most expensive part of the movie.
That's crazy to me.
Right? 50 cents a roach.
What?
Wow. Yep. Yeah. There's like, what? Like, supposed to be like...
what was it? 150,000 roaches?
Oh, my...
Let me just
what's the math on that?
Grand total of $125,000 on roaches alone.
Wow.
That's like as much as a house.
Yep.
Because I know at the end there, I know Savini had said that some of the roaches, just to make it look like there's more, there's like raisins and stuff like that.
Sure.
Just to kind of fill it out. But still, that is a lot of roaches.
But like most of them are getting away. Like,
yeah.
The roaches, I mean.
Burn the fucking building down when you're done.
Right.
That's what this guy would have liked to have done, I'm sure. And like you guys were kind of saying earlier, this is kind of where that little bit of sci-fi literal window dressing kind of comes in here with this setup and him talking over the phone, and he's got the computer, he's got this, like, I was at like a dentist office, I always think. Like the suction where he throws his nasty tissues out and he pushes some bugs in.
It's like a
later.
bank
tube. Yeah. It's this is like very Twilight Zone.
Yep.
Episode, because
I mean, you could feel it as you're watching the movie, all the things it's pulling from. But you're right, this one definitely is the most Twilight Zone-y out of them
in terms of like things are not what they seem, kind of thing. And like this is very much like Pratt's evil catching up with him, because like there's a lot of scenes that infer that these bugs are not actually there.
Well, right, he goes to squish one at one point, and he's got nothing
on his glove. I love when So he calls like the building manager, but he's away in Florida
on vacation with his kids.
He's like in Disneyland. He's like Orlando, Florida. He's like,
taking vacation.
What the fuck are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm on vacation with my family. He's like, if you don't get people up here in a half hour, you can take the fucking kids to Disney World on your fucking welfare check.
This guy's just ruthless.
He does not.
The business guy like ended up like the other is like competition like killed himself, and his wife calls. And she's like, I just want you to know that he blew his brains out.
And the last thing he said was your name, or like, fuck you, Mr. Pratt.
Yeah.
You're a monster.
And he's
laughing at her.
He's like, oh, how you doing, Miss Whatever? And he's like, oh, Miss Whatever. He's like, how did you get my number? And she's like, I want to know the person who gave it to you. He's like, I fire him. She's like, it was in my husband's address book. He's like, can't fire him.
That's pretty funny.
That's pretty good.
Man.
So the building inspector's not there, but he gets like the handyman to come up. And the handyman comes up, and I love this guy because he's such a condescending asshole because he knows that Pratt's such a douchebag. Yeah. He's like, Mr. Pratt, sir, got bugs again. He's like, don't you talk to me like that.
Well, and of course he's got to be.
Because it's happened before.
Oh, yeah.
And there's clearly no bugs in the building, and there's definitely no bugs in his apartment.
Right. But of course, then you already know this guy's an asshole. But they want you to think he's an asshole, but then he's got to be racist on top of it.
It's not as egregious as you're making it out to be, but yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, he basically makes some like colored reference, more or less.
Well,
he
says,
he was just pointing it out just to kind of be an asshole.
Yeah.
They really want you to hate this guy. Is the point.
Yeah. So he's like, sure, Mr. Pratt, I'm going to get a 24-hour fumigating service out here by 11 p.m.
Well, because it's already late at night. That's the thing, too, right?
Yeah, it's
another thing, too. It's like the way he's communicating to people is like either over the phone or through this weird speaker in the door.
Yeah.
In this weird, like, you don't actually see the guy.
Well, yeah, it's like
you just see like
his eye.
Yeah.
The angle of
his mouth.
Yeah. No, Mr. Pratt, sir. Yeah. I love
it. It's kind of cool, actually, like from a viewer standpoint. But he keeps seeing cockroaches, and he's got the spray, and he's cooking them with that.
He's killing them.
Like spraying them as they're flipped over.
Yeah. And he's like, there's just so many good lines of just to hit home that this guy's a piece of shit. Like when he's talking to his one, I don't know, one of the executive guys. He's like, what are you doing at the office at 9:30 at night? He's like, there's no overtime for people at executive level.
Yeah.
He's like, you did good. Go out and fuck somebody. Use a rubber because everybody's got the damn herpes now.
Oh my God.
So he's got this, everything's super sterile and white except for this fucking jukebox that's playing like these old show tunes.
Hey, you know what's funny? Do you know what song that's playing?
Ding, 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 ding. Is that the one from Evil Dead
2?
At the end.
Yep.
Yeah. It is. Yep. Damn.
Nice little nod there.
There you go. Yeah. So is Evil Dead referencing Creepshow? Evil Dead 2 referencing Creepshow?
I think so.
Well, he got that hand too, so stop motion.
I guess so.
Oh, maybe.
That's so funny. That's
you
so
heard
funny.
it here first.
Yeah. Nobody made that connection.
Is Evil Dead 2 a ripoff
of Creepshow?
Oh
no, it's just like little stuff like
little
that.
Nods. No, it's fun because they were all kind of friends.
Oh yeah,
I know Sam Raimi was friends with George Romero. Mm-hmm. So his descent into madness just keeps happening because there's just more and more bugs. He's like making this disgusting like oatmeal fucking thing in this blender.
Yeah, what is that? It's like
I don't
first
know.
he has it in the bag. It's like it looks like cereal, like just a little bag in a box.
It's like Raisin Bran with like granola
disgusting.
And milk
in this like generic box.
It's gross.
And he eats some of it before he notices that it's weird.
He's starting to taste a little extra protein because there's definitely bugs in that mix. Then he goes over to the cereal and he fucking dumps it out, and it's just all roaches inside the cereal. He's trying to fucking kill them all. I love the score here because it's like this inverted, like manic, like I can't even.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's very
and it's like it's
gross.
Just ramping up with like him, like just going crazy from all these bugs, and it's like there's more and more roaches. Like the more we go on, the more bugs there are.
The score sounds like bugs running all over your ears. You know what I mean?
It's amazing. And then like there's the point in the kitchen when there's just like so many. He's just like fuck this, and he goes in like his hermetically sealed like area. Yeah, you can't get in here. Nothing getting in here.
It's got like its own oxygen tank and shit inside.
It's like this guy's paranoid.
Yeah,
dude. They show that bed though, and it's like moving like a water bed, and you're like, oh,
you know what's here. You know exactly what's coming.
But you're right. That music is like, like the sound of them moving.
He pulls his sheet off, and it's just bugs.
Thousands.
It's just thousands of roaches.
And he's screaming.
He's screaming, and they're crawling all over him. And dude comes back, and he's like, "What's the matter, Mr. Pratt? Bug got your tongue." Meanwhile,
that final shot.
these things are like coursing inside of him. His like brain is, his fucking head is like expanding, and they all start coming out of his mouth. And then like the shot of his chest is like pushing out, and all these bugs fucking come popping out and squirming all
Like,
over the place.
flooding out of this guy's body.
God.
Insane.
One of the all-time best effects, I think. Just period. Just those bugs coming out of that fucking body is just so cool.
Oh, and dude is outside. He's like,
disgusting.
talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. You fucking jerk. And that's they're creeping up on you. It like closes out with like
The room's like
the
full
room
of them
is
now.
like full of roaches.
like a good probably like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and like he's
Deep-
completely covered in a
Yeah.
sea of insects.
There's not a morsel left on that man's body.
No, I think it's a good one. It's not my favorite. Really, E.G. Marshall saves. If it was anybody else, I don't think it would be as good. His one-liners and his acting and his delivery is just so fucking great that I really think it makes it work really well. And again, if they didn't choose the stark white room, like the completely sanitized version of that set, I don't think it would have the impact that it does, because you're very hyper focused on the bugs when they show up, and you can see them real easily. So it works for shots where you see them in the background and he doesn't see them yet.
And it feels even more effective being in like such a clean environment.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, this is like just makes
Skeeving
feel-
me out. Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I love his line. He's like, bugs, once they get in, you can't get rid of them. You go to the core of the building and they breed. And he like talks about like growing up in Hell's Kitchen and like,
I'm from Hell's Kitchen.
killed bugs my whole life. Me and Daredevil. I think-
Wilson Fisk.
Yeah, Wilson. Yeah.
Vanessa,
But you don't talk to me like that in front of Vanessa.
Wesley.
So, yeah, you know, I think it's a good one. It's strong to end on because it's not particularly one of the better stories, but that last shot is a strong shot to end on.
Yeah.
It's like it's definitely a good closer.
Yeah,
Where it's not strong enough to like start or like put in the middle anywhere, but it's a nice kind of like way to slow out,
yeah,
the
yeah,
segments.
yeah.
I mean, it's definitely the I wouldn't say worst ones. I don't think any of these actually deserve the word worst in front of them at all. But it's the least memorable. It's the one I always forget is part of it until I'm like, oh, let's watch Creepshow, and then like I'm going down the list in my head of each segment. But it's the one I don't think about that. Like the ending, of course, I always think of, but the rest I'm just kind of like, oh, the bug one, yeah, it's good, but if I'm tired, I might turn it off if I get to that point. But it's like, doesn't mean it's bad. It's just the one that I'm like, it's good, but it doesn't hold a candle to the rest.
You could say
of
it's
them.
the weakest.
Weakest. There
your
you go.
opinion.
There you go.
Like it's not bad. It's just a good way to like a good like way to slow it down and
Oh yeah. The way that everything's paced and the way that the stories are presented, I think was the best choice.
Like ease that tension out.
Yeah. And there was what was the original? There was an original order. 2 of these got swapped around.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember before. 2 of them got swapped around, but I think it was The Creeping Up on You and something else.
Okay.
I'm not sure which one it is though. Because I think this movie could have ended with The Crate as well, but
That would be a strong way to end it for sure.
Yeah, but it would invoke a totally different feeling. So I can understand why they kind of put that at the end.
Like the way that they put this out, whatever it may have been previously, I think about it almost like a good album. Like, yeah, there were certain songs probably were in different orders when they were figuring it out. But when they finally put the album out, it's like, no, this is the order. And then you listen to it, and you're like, no, this is like you listening, you're like, no, this is the only way it ever could have been. And you find out that, oh, this was here previously. You're like, huh, how would that have worked? But you'll never know, you know?
And again, like there's like deleted scenes on that DVD, and they're not what you'd expect. I just wanted to touch on that real quick because they're like not what you'd expect. There's one in particular. The Sea Bomber is one from Adrienne Barbeau from The Crate, but the other one that was significant, I thought, was from Father's Day. There's a scene where they're talking about Bedelia and how her fiance's shot, and it has Bedelia go down to the morgue to identify the body, and they pull down, they're like, is this your husband? And his whole face is like shot like with a shotgun. It's like exploded.
Weird.
Oh my God.
And she's like, ah! She's like screaming, and it's just, I thought it was pretty powerful scene, and it worked, but like I could see why they snipped.
It's like save the good bits for like when really that because the first one is really, but Nathan comes out of the ground.
Yeah.
So I guess that would have been like, that would have preceded that.
And they wanted that shock, you know what I mean? I guess that makes sense.
It's like a better decision.
I agree with you. And you said that the hitchhiker from Creepshow 2 was supposed to be in this.
Yeah.
This
So
one.
if the budget was going to be too big for They're Creeping Up on You, they were going to originally put in the hitchhiker.
Okay.
Because that was another Stephen King story.
Right.
And like, that would have been weird.
That would have been really weird.
Because doesn't that closes Creepshow 2, doesn't it?
I want to say yes.
So it's like either way
What is the order? It's
like, let's put a bad story in to, close it out.
We're going to do a commentary track for the second Creepshow, by the way, which is good. You've heard it here first. I think it's Old Chief Woodenhead. Then it's The Raft.
Yeah, then The Raft. And
then it's...
Is that the order?
I don't know. It's right there.
And you guys are trying to do it off memory.
I don't think it says it. Damn, I can't remember.
I think it is the closer.
I think it is the closer, but there's less stories in Creepshow 2.
I like it this way. It's like you're getting more stories.
I think so.
And like they're not rapid fire, but they're a good pace.
I think that's the thing though. They're a little like Jordy Verrill's shorter and Father's Day's a little bit shorter. Then you have your two longer ones and then you have a little bit shorter one. And I think that works for the pacing of the film and how it goes up and down. Yeah. You know what I mean? The roller coaster of the film itself.
If they were shorter, if there was one more story in here, that'd be too fast.
Yeah.
And if there's one less, you'd be padding these things out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we zoom out of the comic and it's the next morning and Tom Savini and Marty Schiff are the garbage men and they come up and they pick up the comic.
Tom Savini's directing careers and that's
oh my God. And his acting careers in that scene. Thank God he got a little better, but this scene's rough, man.
He plays the creep in the second movie.
But he's just he keeps like saying the one line over and over again because the guy's like, oh yeah, it's like a horror comic, and he's like, boo, or what the fuck does he say?
Oh, he's like, what you guys? He's like, what is that? He's like, comic book. He's like, what? A comic book? What?
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. And it's like, all right, Tom, you're not quite Sex Machine yet. Calm down.
But I love they're like going through it, and he's like, oh, look at this. You can sit away with X-ray glasses. He's like, nah, it's black. It's like a gag. And he's like, oh, authentic voodoo dolls.
He's like, oh, look, someone cut it out.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's great.
Can't send away for that. Hey, listen to this. You tired of getting sand kicked in your face? Cut to Tom Atkins, like pouring himself a cup of coffee. He's like, oh, my fucking neck hurts. And his wife's like, oh, you need some Bengay. Meanwhile, Joe Hill's upstairs stabbing the voodoo doll like in the neck.
Yeah, what is he saying?
He's like, ready for another shot, Dad?
Weird voice.
God. It's kind of great.
Yeah, he's poking the voodoo doll. Tom Atkins is like leering over pain. Yeah,
it's great.
There's like
there's like a quick shot of like his wife like lifting up a shirt and there's like a big hole cut out of it where the kid took the stuff for the voodoo doll.
Yeah.
And then it pans out. So the kid, Joe Hill becomes the cover of the comic and the creep takes it off and a candle blows out in like another animation and that is it.
Yeah,
credits.
It's fucking great. So is this on the shelf or is it in the dumpster?
I mean, it's pretty obvious, I think, for all of us, but I guess I'll kick it off. It's on the shelf. It's been on the shelf ever since I saw it for the first time. It hasn't moved. If anything, it's probably moved higher on the shelf if we ought to think about it in those terms.
Watch it every Father's Day.
That's
the tradition. It's,
straight up.
You got Silent Night, Deadly Night on Christmas.
Yep.
And all the classics
and you
for
got,
Halloween.
And you got
here's your Father's Day one.
Blood Rage on Thanksgiving, and you got Creepshow on Father's Day.
Yep.
And there's still like usually like I kind of feel like I have more to say in these breakdowns at the end, but I feel like we've kind of covered each segment so like in-depthly, if that's even a word, that I don't really have much else to say other than that I really love this movie.
That's okay.
And I really don't have anything negative to say about it. Again, like I do wonder like and I think about this sometimes on this show, like how this hits someone today that maybe doesn't have that history. And I think it still would probably hold up as a great movie regardless. But having that extra information, especially with you guys, like you were talking about, being fans of stuff like this growing up, you probably have an additional attachment to it. But just someone that likes horror and likes like the aesthetic that they're going for. And again, I know I mentioned some of those Italian films too, because of that makes me think, especially the lighting and some of the camera work.
Sure.
Obviously was bleeding into some of this stuff too. And I'm sure even those comics, maybe that's stuff from the 50s, obviously, but some of the stuff that came after. And I always appreciated that kind of stuff in movies in general, especially horror. So it's just like, I talked about that puzzle earlier, and this really is like the puzzle that when you finish, you don't put it back in the box. You actually get like the cork board out, and maybe you don't hang it on the wall,
Exactly.
but you keep it, and you look back at it in the closet every once in a while, and you're like, damn, this is fucking impressive, and it never gets old.
I love this movie with all my heart. I think that just in terms of like, I just want to piggyback off what you just said real quick before I forget. I think this is a great entry level horror for somebody who's not into horror. This is great for young kids that aren't ready for something like Friday the 13th or a Nightmare or something like that. It's accessible to a large age group while being scary as hell without being too graphic or too whatever. I love it so much. It is, I said at the beginning of this episode, it is the best anthology movie to ever be put to film. I don't know if it will ever be topped or anything will be quite like it again. I mean, we have Creepshow 2, which I love, but it's just not the same. Creepshow 3, we're not even going to talk about ever because it's not even a fucking
Oh, they made a Creepshow 3?
No, they sure did not.
I'm trying to like trick my brain to just
never
tuning it out.
No. What you want to talk about disappointment? I remember the day that I picked that up and then
you paid money for that.
I paid money for it. Yeah.
Oh.
Back before you could stream things.
You didn't know.
I didn't know.
You had to know.
Yeah, you had to know. And you know, it's really this is another one. Like, this is such a seminal movie in horror, especially contemporary horror, because we're still talking about it now. Yeah. And there's a fucking show that's a new Creepshow series that has been going for 3 seasons. It's still going strong. And I think that's a testament to the impact that this film has made and how it's resonated with people who love the genre and people who work in the genre. Like, I think it's headed by Greg Nicotero, the series. So like, I know that he loves this film and he's a big fan of Savini's work and stuff like that. So like, for him to kind of take the torch and run with it, like with Romero and King and kind of keep it alive, I think it's great. I don't think it's the best series ever, but that's okay because I feel like if people enjoy it, that's fine. You know what I mean? I think it's cool that we're still talking about it and it still has life and legs. So I think that's really cool. And man, I've loved this movie since I can remember. I have every fucking iteration on the table. I have my Warner slip. I have my Warner clam. I have my Creepshow Blu-ray. I had the DVD, the Snapcase paper one. I don't know what happened to it, but it's not in the collection anymore.
I can picture it in my head.
But then, you know, again, I cannot stress enough, if you are a fan of this film, go pick up the Shout Factory version of the film. It is the definitive version, Michael Gornick's definitive version, the cinematographer of Creepshow. And I think it might be George's definitive version as well, in terms of how it's graded and edited and colored and fixed and kind of rounded out to this beautiful restoration. It's the best way to watch it, 100%. And it's packed with fucking extras from Mike Flesher's Red Shirt Pictures. Also, if you looked right over there, there's the making of the Just Desserts documentary, also done by Red Shirt Pictures and Mike Felsher. It's very, very good. Go pick it up. It's fucking great. It's it's a timeless horror classic. And I think it's going to be around for many more generations to enjoy. And I don't think we'll ever forget about this one.
It's like you said, it's like you covered all the bases. Like, I don't really, I can't help but agree with everything you said. And it's like, it really is timeless. It's like, there's all sorts of things going on here. It's like all different sorts of moods, atmospheres, and everything. And
all different types of time periods.
Yeah. And it pulls it off like it's no sweat.
No. And I think that, again, that's because everybody involved, from the production design to the director, to the effects, to everybody, they knew what they were making, and they knew how to get there. And they all worked really hard to bring that vision to life. Again, this is like Ghostbusters level lightning in a bottle shit.
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
you can't help but imagine if like George Romero and Stephen King worked together like more often.
I know.
And it's like, what would have happened? But it's like, they set out initially to make their, sort of their own love letter to what they grew up with.
Yeah.
And it's like, now this is what we grew up with.
Yeah.
And we're putting it in work we do.
Exactly.
That's
And
so
good
it's like this
point.
weird, like,
it just keeps
loop.
paying it forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
The love of horror and the fantastic and the supernatural and even a little dash of sci-fi in there continues.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's like they put everything in there, and it's like you can't help but fall in love with it. It's an amazing movie.
everything about
Yeah.
it is fantastic. The score, the way it's shot,
The score, it's like, I know we talked about it before, but like
it's so
we
good.
really can't give it enough justice. It's like it's weird as hell.
Yeah.
And it's like
It's not traditional. It's like a synth. It's a
Yeah.
weird synth thing. You think it would be an orchestral
Yeah.
score, but it's
John Harrison does not get enough credit.
not.
No.
And it's
Also,
like,
pick up the fucking Creepshow LP.
Yes.
Waxwork put that out. I don't know if they still have it for sale, but if they do, go grab it.
but it's like it's perfect. It's all over the place. It's
Yeah.
creepy. It's silly, but it's so unique and like fits the movie so well. I can't imagine, like we keep saying this, but I can't imagine someone else doing this. or
No,
I can't imagine someone else doing the soundtrack.
I don't think
And
so
I don't
either.
think the movie would hit as hard
No.
if it wasn't for John Harrison.
No, and all that symphony of everything
Yeah.
coming together, that's a big part of it, and it's just really fucking good. And I can't stress that enough. It's just
Right.
all really fucking good. Yeah. And so that was the
Creepshow.
legendary
Yeah.
Creepshow. I'm so glad that we got to talk about it with you, and you came on for our main episode,
Yeah,
and we
this was
talked
fun.
about like one of our favorite movies of all time.
So happy 40th birthday,
Happy 40th
Oh, yeah.
Creepshow.
Get yourself a cake.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great
Birthday
get yourself a
cake. Over the hill.
hill.
Over the hill.
Thank you, George, for everything, and especially this film. Thank you.
So, like we said earlier, Talks from the Dark Side should be coming back very soon, if not already out. Again, it's a thing that's coming back. People keep asking. We're gonna try to streamline those a little bit going forward, but just so that there's not these huge gaps in between episodes. But stay tuned for the actual episodes to get more details on that.
It's back.
Yeah, it's back is the key point. Just like John Wick, it's back, baby.
We're back from the dark side.
yeah.
And before we forget, in honor of the 40th anniversary of Creepshow, we are giving away a 40th anniversary NECA Ultimate Creep over on Instagram. So go over to the Movie Dumpster Instagram to figure out how to win one of these guys. So that's it. That's Creepshow from 1982, directed by George Romero. I'm Joe Lascola.
I'm Sean O'Rourke.
And I'm Chris Bahr.
Until next time, creeps.